agenda today, we need to amend for reversing a transfer.
For what?
Reversing a transfer,
Reversing a transfer.
yes.
That's one of these on here?
No, we need to amend
Oh,
the
amend this
agenda
one and add
to
it.
add it, yeah.
Add it, okay.
Yep.
So we're gonna put that as, number 20, or, oh, no, we gotta amend the agenda to add it. And then where do you wanna put it?
I don't care,
I'll
You can put
at
it
the
in
end and
the
just make it number 20, or?
yeah. I think we're gonna go till 2 o'clock today anyway, so.
Good day for Terry to be gone.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm here.
Well, the only,
Can you come back?
the only thing worse than having to sit through a long meeting is doing it on the phone.
I forgot to change the cord over here, so of course it hadn't changed that.
What is that? It's,
I don't know. You don't have the meeting open yet, the
No,
agenda?
no.
Okay. Oh. I think it thinks the second screen is over here instead of over here.
Okay.
So drag to the right. I should fix that now that I'm thinking about what I just looked at.
That's all right.
9 o'clock, are we ready, or are you set up, Carla?
I'm very close.
Okay.
How big the tracker is of my dog.
This is when we hum the theme to Jeff.
Okay.
Say the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You up first, Tom?
Yes,
Terry is here.
he is not here.
He's not here.
He's on the
Somebody else
phone.
Sign it
He's on the phone.
Terry's on the
for
phone.
Terry.
He's,
Yes, we can,
I don't think Gary really cares too much. Just need his signature on the contract for the roof.
let's see, we have to wait until the, well, it's at 9 AM, I guess, but we should do the minutes and agenda first, shouldn't we?
I guess we can.
It doesn't,
Or, it don't matter.
it's just one spot.
I like my brother Daryl, my other brother Daryl.
Kinda, Kevin squared.
Grandpa's Dave, my dad's Dave, and we have a worker named Dave.
Oh, there, eh? You know, my dad's William, I'm William, and my son is William. That's a good reminder to silence my phone.
Sorry about that.
It's the first time it's ever happened.
You ready?
Okay, so consider for approval minutes and agenda. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes and agenda with a change to add subtracting, what did you say it was?
Reversing a transfer?
Reversing the transfer, there you go. And put that as number 20 on the agenda.
And I can second that? And should we jump over to 3 to the 9
Yeah.
AM?
You need to vote.
Oh, we need to vote.
Yep.
All, help me with the wording.
All in favor?
All in favor, thank you.
Yeah.
Say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion passed. Okay, so now we can jump to
Just go to number 3.
3. All right, consider for approval signing contracts for the re-roof project, and we have those.
So what I think you should just do is sign Susan Smith, Vice Chair for Terry Derby.
Okay.
You're lucky enough you get to do it 3 times.
Cool.
And that's your copy.
Okay.
And I have a copy of the performance and payment bond for you,
Okay.
and then a copy of liability insurance.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yep.
Oops.
Anything else you need me for?
I think we're good, Thomas.
Okay, sounds good.
Susan,
Yes.
Susan, I'll make a motion to approve the signing of the contracts for re-roof project.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All,
On a motion from Derby and a second from Jonesville,
okay,
and then all in favor.
all in favor, okay. Say aye.
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed? And motion passed. Anything else on that, guys? Can we move to the next one? Otherwise, Carla says we're gonna be here till 2 o'clock.
All right,
Thank
thank you
you.
guys.
9:15, public hearing for.
It's not 9:15 yet,
It's
though.
not.
We'll go back to number 2. We skipped over that.
Oh, are you there, Julie? We're gonna come back to COVID-19 policies.
Is that something like-
I am here. How is everyone today?
Okay, we're missing Terry today, and I suppose you heard.
Yep, I saw. Okay.
Anything new?
Do you guys have? No, everything's about the same. Do you guys have any questions? I can kind of tell you what we've been doing. We finished up with the schools with their second shots, so they are done. We still are only getting 200 doses a week, and that's the Moderna. But the last 2 weeks, there's been a buzz that she is going to be opening it up to anyone. It would be 16 and over because of the Pfizer. On April 5th, but since we have Moderna, it will be 18 and over for our county. And so we are taking names for anyone 18 and over. And we've been having closed pods, so we've been having calling people and getting appointments set up. And we are having a clinic like that where we call them and set up appointments for 50 shots on the 6th. So if their name is on our list, we are calling them to get an appointment time set up. And we had a closed pod boost clinic on March 24th at the Civic Odd from 1 to 3:30, and it went very well. And we took those people that were on our list for 64 and under with health conditions.
How many
So,
did
and
you do, Julie?
We did actually 107 on that day.
Wow.
And that was a great setup. We thank the Civic Odd very much for letting us use that. We couldn't do it for this next one because they have alumni tournament and they're cleaning up after that. So we just thought we'd do it here at the office to see how it goes. And I'm still calling people, filling in my slots from our list for next Tuesday, and that will be here in our office. And that is not open to the public. I just wanted to make sure it is only by appointment only, so we are setting that up ourselves. And I'm calling the people to get that set up. We're still working close with our partners. Hy-Vee is getting actually their doses now from corporate Hy-Vee. They're still getting the boost to finish out what we have started them with. So now we're just splitting our doses with Mercy Clinic and Miller's. So they get 100 and we get 100, or they get 50 each and then we get 100, so that we're working through. So we're working through our list pretty good right now.
That's great. That's good.
But yeah, we anticipate that she will open it up the 5th. And they did say pending if there's a vaccine shortage, but I won't know any of that more until Friday, when we have our vaccine meeting.
Okay.
And Eric has been helping me greatly, keeping the website and everything up to date, so, and our phone systems, so I appreciate all of his help too.
That's good. I'm glad it's going well. Was there any other discussion that we needed for Julie?
I don't foresee anything. I do know we have a webinar today, and they are going to, I can tell you one agenda item that I'm sure everybody is kind of probably looking at, and that will be information on vaccine records for travel, because we have had that question. So that is on the agenda. I don't know if anything will be answered, but I can, when I find that out, I can let people know.
Okay. So what are they thinking for travel, that you might have to have your card, or?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I think it's all over the board, I think. So I have no idea.
Can we move drainage up? Chris needs to.
Sure. Are you, Julie, is that all you have
Yep.
for us?
That's all. I am done.
Okay, thanks so much.
I don't have anything else.
All right, keep up the good work.
All right, thanks, guys. You have a good day.
Bye.
Thank you.
All right, so which number is?
I can do number 12, 13, and 14.
Okay, let's go to 12.
All right, I got a letter in the mail from Rick Hopper regarding that DD 6 Lot 1 project with John Oftedal. And it's explaining, it went to us and to John, explaining what it is that he needs to do. So my thinking is that we need to send a letter to all the landowners and set up that public hearing to see if they, like an information hearing. Would that be right?
I suppose we should.
Because they should know. I mean, they didn't object before. I don't know why they would now.
I'm guessing they're not. Do
But-
we need to have the public hearing or just send them a letter?
What do you think, Carla?
Didn't we do an informational meeting last time?
We did.
We did, because it was new, and I know Terry Kiewit came, and they just all had questions. So I don't know if they would again, because now it's been working fine. Terry, what do you think? I'm sorry, I didn't know you were on the phone.
Yeah, no, I think it's probably informational. If we do it the same as last time, there shouldn't be any problems.
Right, and then I'll have to have Kelsey draw something up for the new length to get that recorded, to put it, make sure it's in their abstracts for future. Okay. When would you want to do that?
I suppose as soon as possible.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know if he's doing it this year or not. I don't remember what he
I
said.
thought he said he wanted to do it this spring.
Oh, this spring, okay.
Yeah,
That's what I thought he said.
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
He also talked about, depending on the cost, you may do part of it now, part of it later.
Yes, that's
Right, right.
But
Yep.
if we get all the preliminaries out of the way, he can always do the rest of it later
Right.
without having to go through the hoops again, so.
And we can tell people too that the whole length is what he wants to do. It may be in two different parts, so that way we don't have to go through another hearing. Yeah. It's not on the agenda to set that, so we can put it on the agenda for next week to set a public hearing for that, or an informational date.
Okay.
Would that be okay, Carla? Is that
Yep.
what we think? Okay. The next thing is, it's on the agenda for next week to approve pay estimate number 3 for DD 18 lat 11. I wanted to bring it to your attention because I do want to get it paid next week also, so if you had any questions, I could get it back to him. Terry, do you want me to email you what I got from Rick Hopper, or did he email everybody?
Don't know that I saw it.
Okay, so then it must have just been to me. So it's for $138,854.56.
What was do you remember what the estimate was for the boring? Did it come in above or below?
I don't remember what the actual boring was. Do you remember, Terry?
Well, I remember the discussion about the new boring would be, what, 75,000 or 100,000 higher?
Yeah, and it looks like the bill right now is 94,000. And the original bid was 70 something, correct?
Or
I think
by
so, yeah.
The railroad, 104,000.
Oh, okay, 104.
And,
Okay.
this is for going under 490th Street to 90th, or 490th is the 94,800.
Going to the road or the railroad?
No, it says 490th Street.
Okay, well, that would be
48.
secondary roads.
Yeah.
So we shouldn't have to do that. But I didn't think they went through the road yet.
Do you know, Terry?
Unless it's because it's so close.
Not when I talked to Scott.
Unless it's because it's so close that they, I looked at it the other day.
Oh, no, this is the 48 inch.
Yeah, but it says
Scott said that,
No,
They
you're on the
had-
wrong line.
Oh,
the
It's-
contractor gave him a quote to dig through the road.
Right, but this line, the 94,000 we're paying right now is just 800 feet of 48 inch.
Oh, all right.
We were just looking at the wrong line.
I need reading glasses.
No, we need a ruler.
So what do we need to,
Nothing, I just thought if you had any questions before next week, we could get them answered. I did not see anything
No, it
crazy in it, and he's been doing the work, and so we'll approve it next week, but I just wanted your pre-approval kind of,
so it's on the agenda now?
for next week.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
all right.
That's all I had.
Okay.
We have a 9:15.
Yes.
Okay, we're a minute late on the public hearing for the 2022 budget.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to open the public hearing.
I'll second.
Terry?
Derby and Jensvold.
So is there
We have to
anyone?
vote on it.
Oh, we need to vote. All right, so we need to vote on the,
It's not roll call.
Motion to open the public hearing.
Just, the motion from Jens Bolton, a second from Derby to open excuse me, it's the other way around.
The other way around.
Yeah,
okay,
I'm dyslexic besides. Just say, on a motion for Derby, a second from Jens Volt to open the public
open the
hearing,
public hearing.
and then all in favor.
Okay. For the 21-22 budget, all in favor, say aye.
Aye?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion is carried. And is there any other thing we have to do on that?
No, just.
Carla, did you receive any comments?
I did not receive any comments.
And no one is,
No one is here.
Anybody on the phone have any comments?
must not be.
No, in that case, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing for fiscal year 2021, 2022 budget.
I'll second that, Terry.
So the motion has been made by Jensvold and seconded by Derby. to close the public hearing. Do we need to, it's just
All in
closed.
favor?
All in favor, say
Aye.
And all opposed?
Aye.
And so it is passed. And is there anything else on that? That's all there is, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Number 5.
Number 5, to consider for approval resolution for 21-22 budget.
These are the resolutions, and this is the budget. You don't need to sign that, but I'll probably just have you stamp this one on the front so that it's
Stamp it,
approved.
Terry, you're making us all do double duty here.
Sorry about that.
there.
I just hope you're on the mend.
But I have to be on call out here.
Yes, yeah.
Hello.
Hello. Need your glasses, Bill?
Maybe.
Borrow mine?
Oop, I got it backwards.
Oops.
Susan, you might want to call Scott up to get that moving.
Okay,
Just pick up the phone and dial 7530.
I'm gonna count on Carla here. She's offered.
Ready? I think he was still talking to me when I hung up on him, but. Oops. Beautiful. And these resolutions basically explain what's in the budget. So where this little blue thing is, I need
Okay.
you to sign there. And then these two, you'll,
Okay, as chair
you
for
can,
Terry on this one too?
yep,
Okay.
just like you did.
Takes a long time when you have to write both names. Okay,
Yeah.
that's all back to you, Carla.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution for fiscal year 21-22 budget.
I'll second it.
Okay, and so, I really never know how to do that right.
On a motion
On a
from
motion,
Jens
no.
Gold and a second from Derby.
Okay. Approval of resolution for the 21-22 budget, and we need to vote on that as well.
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay. All approved, how do you say it?
All in favor?
All in favor? All in favor, say aye.
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 And all opposed, same sign. So that has passed. Is there anything else that we need on that, Carla?
We're good?
Okay.
Scott?
And now we're up to Scott? Good
Yep.
morning,
Good
Scott.
morning. Let's see, I got a few things on there,
Yes,
so
you do.
start with kind of general update. Yeah. I don't have much to report since last week. Andy Goodmanson, who we hired, has started this week, so we're full staff today, as of yesterday. So excited to have him aboard and be full staff again, after being short since first of the year, so. guys are stockpiling at Sunnyside now, so they have Lake Mills, Buffalo Center, and Thompson complete. So hopefully this year we get our stockpiling actually completed before we start hauling spot loads to the roads. So that's all looking pretty good. The guys started blading last week on Thursday for the first time. So good to kind of see that getting going. Out again this week, and they'll be going as long as the conditions are fit and trying to make their rounds. I think it takes about 2 weeks to really do the entire territory, but this time of year they're kind of bringing in shoulders and kind of doing some reshaping and a little bit more thorough job initially. So
What are they reporting back? Are they saying that they're in halfway decent shape this year? Or-
from what I've seen and what I've heard, I think they're outstanding.
Yeah, it seems like it doesn't.
Yeah, I think a couple of comments we've gotten are about washboards, which is really not your typical spring complaint. Spring complaint's usually sloppy.
Yeah, it's, I haven't noticed frost boil anywhere in the little bit that I've been out, except for on the street just south of my shop. That one's bad for some reason again this year.
Yeah, so I imagine after they make a round or two, they'll look in pretty good shape, and hopefully, spot loading can be kind of kept to a minimum, and we can go right into resurfacing. We'll see. Still March. So
That wind, it feels like March too.
today it does, yeah. Yeah, I guess the only other thing, got a little start on some small work orders with the backhoe, but we'll get into that here more heavily once, Andy gets acquainted with things and get that crew moving.
How many work out of the Lake Mills?
How many work out of the Lake Mills? 5 of them, and Ethan, I guess you might call, still be out of Lake Mills.
All right, so was there anything else, or do we just need to go to?
Scott, this is Terry.
Yeah.
I didn't get a chance to come in this morning, so I better tell you on the phone. On 410th Street, south of Highway 9, Jay Mathis said there was an intake put on the west side of the road in the first half mile and by the county. And this spring, it's boiling over and running through the culvert across to the other side onto his field. I don't know if they should go out, at least look and see what's going on. Might have to dig up on the other side and see if it's flowing on that side.
Okay. First half mile south of Highway 9.
Right, it's north, he said, I don't know, like 100 yards north of Bill Swearingen's driveway. And to me, it's not a district tile. If I haven't physically gone out and looked at it, but it looks like maybe a private tile, but still crosses the county road there.
Okay. You got a contact on that or anything?
I can text it to you.
Okay, that'd be great. We'll get a look at it.
Okay, was there anything else?
That's all I have.
So we can go to 7. Consider for approval 2022 secondary roads budget and county 5-year program.
This is actually quite a big item. We talked about the 5-year program back when the discussions of TIF were more promising, but since then I've taken TIF out of the program at this point, assuming it won't be available, and we'll see how the projections fit into the cash flow of the TIF, I guess, and address that at a later time. So I presented a plan that takes a lot of those projects that I presented before and funded them with local money, or we'll try to. And some of them I've taken off the plan, and some of them I've pushed back, some of them I've modified the scope, just to try and really invest in try and be intentional about investing in preventative maintenance and repairs to the pavements over the next 5 years and probably 10 years, anything going forward. But in my 8 years been here, we haven't really done anything other than crack sealing and slurry leveling of the dips. So I think we need to do a better job of being intentional about that. So I sent you all a spreadsheet, and it has a whole bunch of information about the project location, the project number, the work type, the year that I plan to budget the money, whether it's construction or maintenance. For the bridges, it's details about their life remaining, the posting that they have on them. And I think this plan is effective for keeping our pavements and bridges from failing. But every year we'll have to scour the budget pretty hard to find enough money to fund these projects. So you can look at that as a good or bad thing. But what it means is we'll be looking at operations and trying to be as tight as possible in order to free up money for construction and large pavement maintenance projects. A couple of the big points I'll say, we talked about Osmus Farm Supply Road and possibly trying to get that on the plan. I've removed that. I don't think there's enough funding for that. Took out a couple of pavement reconstruction projects and some maintenance projects. And I've also kept in there, but would like to discuss Rice Lake area. The road that comes from County Road north and back to the clubhouse. We had in the budget for this year, and I think seeing after the spring, we can get by with repairs if needed and push it back to a time where we address the entire subdivision, which I've included in here is fiscal year 2026. I think it would be the most cost effective to do all that at once. Historically, when Rice Lake area was paved and then Eagle Lane as well, the only two neighborhood streets in the county, they were paved by assessments. So I think that's the discussion we should have about how we pay for it this time. I think what needs to be done back there is just some mill and overlay work. So it should be fairly quick and not too much of a disturbance to the traffic out there. It might need a little bit of drainage improvement. If there's some tile and intakes out there that just need to be touched up and make sure that they're operational and working well. It's not a very well drained area for as much driveway and roof area out there, but I think that's the scope of it. Just it will take, I have listed $175,000 as an estimate without doing a design, but to do some.
From the blacktop all the way through the.
Well, that's the number from the clubhouse back through the subdivision.
Is 175?
Yep, mill and overlay the entire neighborhood and maybe do some patching, some drainage work, whatever is necessary to get it all back to snuff.
So with that many houses on that area, there's a lot of taxes coming in, I mean, from there, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So it's good to take care of it, for sure.
Yep.
So
It's
you're
a-
thinking 2026? Possibly.
That's where I have it programmed. And when I say programmed, I have just the road to the clubhouse actually programmed in the Iowa DOT version because, as I noted in my email, for some reason when it was paved in the first place or taken over by the county or the right-of-way was established, it wasn't ever included in the DOT's road inventory. We discovered this kind of by accident. But until you do that, we can't program it officially. But we're going to clean that up, and most of that work's already done. I just have to kind of get with the DOT and see if that'll, if we've given them everything they need. At that point, then we can program it officially. So, like I said, the assessment plats were set up when they paved it originally, and of course that was, you'd call it new construction because they went from gravel roads out there to paved. So that system is kind of there, and if you wanted to use assessments to pay for the paving, you'd use that same schedule, and all the landowners would receive the same proportion as the original paving to be paid for over whatever time period you select.
Scott, how much did the original one cost?
I don't have that number handy, Terry. I can look it up.
I can
Give me a reference for what's going to be billed out in the next one.
Yep.
I paid over $10,000 for my 2 lots going around a corner.
And I was just gonna say that pretty much everybody who's out there remembers how much they were assessed, you know, so I think it's gonna be interesting. And they're having conversations about it now, you know, of course,
Sure.
so.
Typically, from one municipality to another, once you've assessed the cost of the new construction to the existing landowners, then after that, I think it's up to the county or municipality to maintain.
Yeah, I think that's common. This is probably more a question of maintenance versus construction and the preference of the board as to how they want to handle this. A mill and overlay, you might say, is maintenance. In the DOT's definition, anything 2 inches or over is considered construction. Whether that definition means enough to you to go one way or the other, I can't say. But I think 5 years down the road, we'll have some pavements that are in need of repair, and so we'll be deciding: do we want to fix roads with 55-mile-an-hour traffic, or do we want to work on a neighborhood street? And I think if we use assessments, it's much more palatable for the county to spend money there. It's money we'll have to outlay, but we'll get it returned to us, you know, at whatever rate the landowners pay it back. So I don't know when that decision needs to be made, but that's a caveat to the plan I wanted to highlight, just so that we make a point to address that at some point. It's not something we'll be able to just set up in a month and go pave.
Yeah,
You know,
it's just something we all need to be aware of what's gonna be.
Yeah, I would foresee it being something you'd go through in late summer, something with the neighborhood, you know, get plans and stuff put together in the fall and maybe pave the following year or something. The, you know, kind of full year or a year and a half type of schedule in order to arrange all that. And I might even be a little bit optimistic there. It might take some legal work or something with the assessments.
Mhm.
That might take time. That's really kind of a minor detail of the full 5-year plan at this point. However,
Right.
it's a little bit more complicated than some of the other projects that just take me putting in the numbers and the project scope and then getting them done. I want to say that we have something like 50 miles of pavement preservation and maintenance in the plan. That's things like either chip seal or microsurfacing or thin overlays, things like that, that are intended to economically lengthen the life of the pavement. And that's not something we've done over the last 10 years, so that'll be something new and somewhat experimental as people driving the roads will have something new that they're not used to in this county. Our operators will have something new that they're not used to seeing when they're plowing snow and things like that. So it'll be a little bit of a learning curve for us as well. But I think it's critical that we try and do things other than wait until pavements fail and then reconstruct them. We do have 16 bridges and 28 miles of pavement rehabilitation in the plan.
Did you take the bridge north of Buffalo Center on the blacktop out of the plan?
No, that is still in there.
Well, if things are getting tight, or you're dropping other projects, that big bridge isn't even embargoed yet. And even if it got embargoed, I mean, you can also put up the signs like Kasuth does that say safe for one truck only.
Right.
And still get by for a long time.
Right.
How much was that bridge in the project?
How much was that project budget?
Yeah.
Well, I had $500,000 in there, but
Yeah.
as the scope has evolved, I think we could maybe get that budget down to 350 or 4. Maybe even better. I don't know. It's very deep and will take a lot of fill, but that's really not a big cost compared to precast concrete or bridge work.
But,
See, what does that have for estimated remaining life? 4 years. This is the number our bridge inspectors kind of put with every bridge as sort of a ranking system to try and keep us from having no moments where we have to close a bridge all of a sudden. So 4 years left. If we continue on the current schedule, it'll bid in, a year from now or a little earlier and be built maybe a year from this fall. So it'd be, a year and a half or 2 years out from now. At that point, it would have, let's say, 2 years remaining life. And at that time, it could easily be posted.
well, that's,
We could delay that.
that's their estimate. I mean, it could also last longer than that too. As it goes, each time they inspect them, they find that there hasn't been as much deterioration as they anticipated. So,
Something we could do is when we get through some of the development, when we say we're going to go for whatever letting, we can wait at that time as long as we want. It's a lot easier to delay projects than move them up.
I'm going to have to admit, I personally hate to see the Osmus thing drop off of the 5-year plan. That's been going on for 6 years, and probably before I got here, but at least the last 6 years that's been talked about, and probably long before that. And it's, just something to me that seems like should have a little higher priority.
I would agree with Scott that it's probably not the highest priority now, but if we can get some TIF money back in the program, I would be in favor of pushing it up the ladder.
I'm not necessarily saying I want to push it up the ladder, immediately because of this TIF thing, but at the same time, if the budget's that tight, there are other things that, like the bridge north of Buffalo there, that can be put off for a while too. So.
Yeah.
I know why he took it out. It's just been something that's been festering for years.
Well, I'll make a motion to approve the fiscal year 2022 secondary roads budget and county 5-year program.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Say aye.
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 All opposed? The motion has passed. The secondary roads budget and county 5-year program.
Carl, how do you want to do signatures with Terry on the phone?
Susan's been signing as vice chair for Terry.
Okay. So I have budget and the program. Each needs a signature from board chair and you, Carla.
Okay.
What do you think the outlook on, getting new TIF numbers and stuff all together? I suppose that'd be, Sue's just estimating too at this point.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't had time to do too much with it,
Yeah.
so.
It's kind of disappointing the way that they interpreted that.
Yes.
Well, it sounds like there's politics involved.
Yeah, to say the least.
Thank you.
Thanks, Scott.
Do you want me to date yours for
Oh,
you,
please.
Susan? Okay.
Thank you.
The program is something my own spreadsheet, something I'll update probably once a month as I kind of see things change or whatever, so it's only official once a year when we certify with the DOT, but we can make updates and changes and talk about any of those projects anytime. So,
So it can be fluid.
in some ways, really just the accomplishment year, they call it, this year, this coming year, when we need to let projects is the part that's really set. So, when we get to a point where we're thinking about adding that bridge on R20 to the letting, we can have a conversation and say, hey, do we want to add to January, or should we shelf it for a year or something like that? That project is planned to be swap funding, so it isn't anything that affects our local budget. That money will stay in that account until we use it. So,
Okay. Thank you. We're on to number 8, consider for approval resolution awarding contract for L-C095 F1891-73-95.
that's one of the shorter project numbers we have, in fact. So we talked about this project before. Our crew is going to be replacing a bridge northwest of Thompson. And because the project is over $93,000, we had to take formal bids on the box culvert materials themselves. So hoping to get 3 bids, we only got 2, but they were very close to each other and better than my estimate. So the low bid came from Forterra Pipe and Precast for the amount of $64,249. This is a 12 by 10 box culvert with tapered end sections. And so I'm recommending that we approve a resolution which authorizes me to sign the contract. I have 2 copies of the resolution. Sign both on approval, or if you
I'll
have
make
any
a motion
questions.
to approve the resolution awarding the contract for LC095 F18N1-73-95. It's always fun to do that.
Yeah.
I second it.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? And so that resolution has passed. And do you need a signature on this?
Yep.
Then?
Duplicate, so one can go to me, one to Carla, so I'll need your signature on both. We had a same size box culvert project last year, and this one's actually cheaper, so I'm not sure why, but that is a good thing.
That's good.
Yeah, it was kind of surprising when I read that.
I've heard that, wood prices are through the roof, but I guess
Yeah.
concrete and steel are at least somewhat stable.
Maybe I should build a concrete house.
There you go.
Yeah,
Steel house, steel frame, something.
at least it's concrete ones, they're supposed to take tornadoes well.
Yeah.
I had a friend who built a completely concrete house.
You can build them out of concrete box culverts probably, just line them up and,
Especially if
There
you're
you
getting
go.
good deals on those.
yeah.
Yeah, each one make a room, yeah.
Okay, anything else on number 8? You got your paperwork, Scott? And we can go to number 9, consider for approval utility permit for Prairie Energy Cooperative to install overhead electric in sections 34 and 33 of Grant Township.
This is a very minor project to install service to one house, 3 poles. So I recommend approval. It is pretty straightforward.
I'll make a motion to approve the utility permit for Prairie Energy Cooperative to install overhead electric in sections 33 and 34 of Grant Township.
Terry will second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion has passed. Is this a new build? Or just,
I imagine there's service to the property already, so
This is just upgraded.
yeah, it doesn't say.
Look on the plat map and see whose it was.
pictures are there, but I,
Yeah. Whether they're at the grain bins or something where they need to
Yeah,
go. Or juice coming in,
probably a dryer,
or that.
grain dryer.
not really a farm-looking property.
But yeah, I can't think of what down there has any kind of
You got 2 minutes, Scott, to do your next one.
Number 10, consider for approval utility permit for Alliant Energy to install overhead and underground electric service.
You'll remember we discussed this permit a couple months ago, and this is for electric upgrades, the bulk of which are on A38, kind of heading east from Leland. New poles and underground work, similar to some of the projects Alliant's done in the last 2 years, pretty substantial work. Some concerns were raised about some of the road problems that they've left us with, so we approached them about doing a performance bond or a blanket bond for the project in case we have trouble we can't resolve, and we have received a $10,000 bond from them as we requested after a while. And that is similar to some of the bonds that we've gotten from the wind farm projects. Not near the amount, but for the size and scope of this project, it's appropriate.
Mhm.
And we've also organized with them to have weekly meetings with their construction folks and our office. So between those two things, I hope that we can do a better job of restoration work and taking care of the roads.
So will that be you that will meet with them, or? will
Probably
it be Ethan, or-
be involved in the initial meeting, but have Eric kind of
Eric?
take care of the weekly meetings. He'll be the one that's kind of monitoring the progress of the project and remedying any situations that need to be addressed.
Okay.
So
Terry, did you have anything on that?
No, I think it'll be okay with his provisions he put in there, so.
Yeah.
I guess either you or I could make that motion.
Well, I would make the motion to approve the utility permit for Alliant Energy to install overhead and underground electric service.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion is passed. You can get it right in your name, Terry.
Oh, wonderful.
Should have had the both stampers.
I know.
Yes. Come on in, Linnea. Go ahead.
I'll be leaving.
Hi there.
Did you bring your,
Okay, yeah, do you need a copy of it? Yes.
I'll give you this to sign.
Sure. It's just the highlighted ones that are, will be, okay.
Thank you.
Okay, it's 9:55. Consider for approval use of courthouse grounds.
Yeah, hi, I'm Linnea Frederickson-Smith, and I'm representing Brick Street Theater, and we're just asking permission to use the courthouse gazebo on this Friday, April 2nd, and a week from Saturday, April 10th, to shoot a couple scenes for our upcoming game show. Sorry if you can't hear me. We're doing a virtual game show called Brick Street Odd Jobs. It's based on the British game show Taskmaster, and we just have a couple jobs that would be easier outside, and we thought the gazebo would be a nice public place that people will recognize. But they won't be messy, and we'll clean up after ourselves. I gave Carla the like actual list of everything that we're going to be doing. It'll just be basically one of them is building a tower out of tin cans, and one of them is moving water from bucket to bucket, and it shouldn't make a mess, and it'll be a maximum of 4 people in the gazebo at a time.
Okay,
Oh, we will be filming it, and then it will get shown on the internet in May at some point.
all right. Any discussion about it?
I'll make a motion to approve the use of the courthouse grounds for Brick Street Theater.
I'll second it.
Okay, and a motion by Derby and seconded by Jensfold. Approval for use of courthouse grounds by Brick Street Theater. Sounds kind of cool. All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion has passed. Excited to see what you do.
Thank you. It should be really funny. We'll let you know.
Good.
And then if you just want to sign that
Sign that,
one?
leave it with you?
Yes, yep. That'll be perfect.
I think you're taking.
Sure.
And you do have a copy in your email, so you know what you signed?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good day.
Okay.
Number 13. Consider for approval pay estimate number 8 for DD11 main tile project for $53,925.12.
I can make that motion to approve the pay estimate for number 8 for DD11 main tile project for $53,925.
I'll second it.
Okay. A motion by Derby and seconded by Jensvold. Consider for approval that pay estimate. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Motion is passed. Do you have the next one right there too? Or is that
Yep.
just? the-
Yep.
It's right there.
Okay, so we also have to consider for approval pay estimate number 9 for DD11 main tile project for $168,890.80. Who would like to make the motion for that?
I can make the motion. I know they have accomplished everything that was in there. I think the only thing remaining then would be the 10% held back. So I'll make a motion to approve number 9 estimate
Okay,
payment.
I'll second it.
a motion by Derby and seconded by Jensvold. We have the approval for pay estimate DD 11 main tile project. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion is passed.
Anybody in this? They need
Um,
to let us in. They let us in once, but then I left, and now they're not letting us in.
no, I don't know that I have anything on it. Terry, do you have a number for this meeting, for the guy who's doing it?
Well, not a contact information necessarily.
Okay,
What do you need to
Well,
know?
we're sitting here, but they need to let us in to the Zoom meeting.
Well, I guess we'll just have to wait.
They let
I'll
us
see if
in.
I can find something.
Sure.
why did you leave?
Well, because I thought I screwed something up.
Oh,
I'll see if I can email them.
I did at one point have a,
I mean, they're gonna go, well, where's Winnebago County? Well, they're sitting there.
Isn't technology wonderful?
Yeah,
here,
it works.
Fema. Here's the letter.
I thought it was with the DNR. I have the, oh, there it is.
There we go.
Should we move to Sandy?
No.
I
we're-
told her we didn't have time.
Okay.
Audio, hopefully this works. Okay, we should be. Hello? Can't we hear them? Oh. Hello? Sooner or later.
Doing the outreach on it. Is that all the field offices? Yes.
Oh.
Yeah. And they were asking about when the April site was gonna rely on floodplain maps instead of alluvial soils. And the answer is once everything's effective, which is, right now, the last one is 11 of 22. So, Sac County.
That make it easier?
Will that take a rule change, Chris?
Yes. Yeah. So that's kind of, I think what John was getting at was, when do we need to start working on the rule change?
Yeah. All right, looks like we have everybody from our side. Morning, Christine.
Can you hear us here in Winnebago County?
Yep, we can hear you. Good morning. Join.
Senator Joni Ernst's office. I was just coming through town and I just wanted to pass on my contact and sort of see what's going on.
All right. I think everybody is here, so we're going to go ahead and get started. I want to thank everyone for joining us this morning. My name is Jason Kahn. I'm with the Iowa DNR Floodplain Section in Des Moines. We're here today to present the preliminary floodplain maps that were issued back in December and January for Hancock and Winnebago counties. We officially call this meeting the Consultation Coordination Officers Meeting. That doesn't really mean anything to you. It's kind of referred to as the final meeting, but this is the meeting we hold after the preliminary maps have been issued to the communities. And it's a chance for us to explain what the new studies entail, the type of detailed information that we use to produce the preliminary maps, and then lay out the next steps and your goals in those process. So we're going to have a presentation here today. It's going to take about an hour. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and start the presentation here. All right. So this is a little bit different meeting than we typically hold. We usually don't hold one meeting for two separate counties, but Winnebago and Hancock have the Winnebago River re-study. That's about a 15-mile new study, Zone AE and floodway. And so we just decided to combine both projects into one meeting just to make it easier on everyone. So, like I said, I'm Jason Kahn with the Iowa DNR, and I have a team here with me that will help me present today, and I'll let them go ahead and introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Ken Boma. I work with Jason at the DNR in the local floodplains program.
My name is Scott Ralston. I'm the Iowa Floodplain Mapping Coordinator and the CTP Program Manager, Cooperative Technical Partner, and I'll be explaining how your maps were made this morning.
Hi, I'm Dan Curley with the AECOM. Good morning. I'm going to be kind of helping out with the explaining the process, where the project is in the life cycle, and I kind of just help coordinate mapping and production with the AECOM.
And hi, I'm Christine Estes, also with the AECOM. I'm the project manager for the study.
And I'm Don Masterson. I'm your Region 7 FEMA representative.
Right. Thanks, everyone. So just some rules of the road before we get started. Lines should be muted during the presentation to cut down on any background noise. We do have a chat function, so if you have any questions, we encourage you to place those in the chat. We will be having a few poll questions throughout the presentation just to gauge your interest and collect some information. If you have any technical difficulties with the Zoom meeting, you can email Chris Cowley. He's on with us here today. He's also in the floodplain mapping program. You can see his email address there. It's chris.cowley@dnr.iowa.gov, or you can send Chris a private chat message. We will be recording this webinar so that you can go back and reference it later or share with those that weren't able to be with us here this morning. So again, if you have any questions, please use the chat. If you have any technical difficulties, you can email Chris, and we will get going here.
Is there a way to zoom into that at all, or no?
So just to highlight some of the features of Zoom, the chat function is down to the middle at the bottom of your screen there. If you want to turn on your video, that'd be great. You don't have to, but we'd love to see your faces. There's also a mute button, pardon me, at the lower left-hand corner next to the video start and stop button. You can show us how we're doing with the reactions button in the lower right-hand corner. So just some goals of the meeting today. We want to make sure that you understand the new maps, the steps ahead in the process and your role within those steps. We want to prepare you to communicate with your residents about the changes in the new maps, changes in the flood hazard areas, what it means for them from a potential regulatory and flood insurance standpoint. So we'll briefly begin by talking about the National Flood Insurance Program.
Can I pause you there, Jason?
Yeah,
we got a first poll to run here.
Oh, sorry about that.
It's all right. So So our first poll is just kind of gauging how we are going in, and we'll do a retest towards the end. But do you feel that you're ready to communicate to your residents about the changes in the new flood maps and the flood insurance requirements?
Yes, no, maybe so?
I'd say
No, right or wrong answers, but those bright yellow stars aren't enough to catch my attention. I guess I have to make them bigger and brighter.
What's your answer, people?
I think I can get that.
Flash.
Okay.
Yeah, need some animation.
Give a few more seconds here. Alright, so it looks like we've got a bit of a mixed bag. Some people are ready to go, some people need a little bit more help, but that's why we're here, so hopefully we can answer some questions along the way.
Alright, one thing I want to point out, I know we have a few people joining the call in one meeting room. If you could please, could you put the names of each person that's with you down in the chat so we can capture who all is attending today? Just want to point that out as we move along here. Alright, so we'll briefly touch upon the National Flood Insurance Program, how it relates to the new maps. We'll talk about the new maps and some additional flood risk products that help communicate flood risk in addition to the regulatory flood insurance rate map panels and where you can find those products. I'll turn it over to Dan and Christine from our mapping contractor at AECOM to discuss the regulatory process. And then we'll kind of wrap things up about with flood insurance and your next steps in this process. So why are we here? Well, we're here because Forest City, Leland, Hancock County, and Winnebago counties participate in the National Flood Insurance Program. For those that don't know, the National Flood Insurance Program, or NFIP, was created back in the late 60s with the passage of the National Flood Insurance Act of 1968. And this act enables property owners within any participating community the ability to purchase flood insurance to protect their structures against flood damages. Participation in the program is voluntary, and it's based upon a mutual agreement between the federal government and that local community. So long as the local community can adopt and enforce a floodplain management ordinance and issue permits for new construction, the federal government will make flood insurance available to any property owner within that community, regardless of whether they reside within the floodplain or not. So FEMA administers a national flood insurance program at the federal level. They're tasked with producing flood insurance rate maps and identifying the risk for communities. FEMA is broken up into 10 different regions across the country. We are located in FEMA Region 7, and as Don mentioned, FEMA Region 7 is headquartered down in Kansas City, Missouri. So with the National Flood Insurance Program, every state must have an agency that actually kind of carries out the program at the state level. And in Iowa, it's the Department of Natural Resources. We at the Iowa DNR actually have a floodplain management program that predates the National Flood Insurance Program by about a decade. And our floodplain management program regulates construction on all floodplains and floodways throughout the state. We also have what's called a cooperative technical partnership with FEMA to actually do floodplain mapping in the state on behalf of FEMA. So Scott Ralston and Chris Colley, they head up our cooperative technical partnership program, and they have contracted with AECOM to help produce new flood products for communities across the state. We also partner with FEMA, the Army Corps of Engineers, and the Iowa Flood Center to bring about the best data and resources we can to produce the most accurate information possible. So the ultimate goal of floodplain mapping is to identify the risk and reduce the risk for communities. We show you this image here of Cedar Rapids in June of 2008 as a reminder of the extensive damage that flooding caused for a community. Flooding can can cause community-wide or even regional-wide damages and really strain services from the government, state governments, local governments, and the federal government responses to those disasters. So it's important for us to identify the accurate risk, get it in the hands to you guys at the local level to carry out proper floodplain management. So how do we create your maps? Before we move on, before we toss it over to Scott Rolson, we do have a second full question we'd like to launch. So how many of you had a chance to review the preliminary maps that were emailed out back in December for Hancock County communities and January for Winnebago County communities?
Terry, have you reviewed them?
Yes,
Then
I
we'll-
did see them.
Okay, then we'll say we have.
We all reviewed them. Susan wouldn't have been a part of it, but Bill and Mike and I reviewed it in the first phase.
Okay.
Just give you a few more seconds to answer. All right, looks like we need to make sure that we're getting all the products to everyone. So if you haven't had a chance to view them yet, I'll show you some websites where you can access them, but if you have any other questions, please reach out to us and we can get you those products as soon as the meeting's finished. All right, I'm going to turn it over to Scott Ralston. He's going to talk about how the maps were created.
Thank you, Jason. Really, the core or the foundation of our new floodplain maps is really the LIDAR, the light detection and ranging. And I'm sure almost all of you know what LIDAR is, but the graphic in front of you on the left hand, these are the same geographic areas depicted, and on the left you see a map, terrain data that was created from basically a 10-foot contour interval map from the USGS, and it's a 30-meter digital elevation model, a DEM. And you can see it looks kind of fuzzy, and on the right is the same geographic area, but with 1 meter DEM, and that's what our LIDAR picks up. So you can see the tremendous increase in resolution afforded by this new LIDAR. Now the LIDAR is pretty dated. In the area on the Winnebago River in Bear Creek, the LIDAR was collected in middle of May in 2007. So we're going on 15 years is how old the LIDAR is. Now in the rural areas, that's not going to change very much, but in urban areas where there could be development occurring, there could be significant changes to the terrain and the elevations. We are in the process of collecting new LIDAR. The USGS and FEMA are involved in that, and they pay for all that. So there will be new LIDAR coming out, but again, our maps are made with LIDAR from about 14 years ago. So.
I just wanted to add there that during our flood risk review meeting that we had with you folks back in 2020 somewhere, I'm not sure exactly where that fell in, but we asked for folks to let us know of new grading differences in the LIDAR and that sort of thing. We try to make the maps account for that. So just so you know, we're not going off of that entirely. We're asking for updated information as well.
Thanks, Chris. You can go to the next slide. So how are the maps actually made? There's quite a bit of engineering analyses and work that goes into making these maps. And that basically is split into 3 main areas. There's what's called hydrology, and that's determining the peak flow rates in the various flooding sources. And then And I'll let Christine kind of explain how that was determined, how the peak flow rates were determined. I believe we used gauges along the Winnebago River, and then there might have been regression equations on Bear Creek, but I'll let her go into more detail on that. But basically, that hydrology determines the peak flow rates in cubic feet per second at different locations along the flooding sources. And then once that's determined, that's input into a hydraulics program that's available from the Hydrologic Engineering Center out in Davis, California. And that's called HECRAS. And that stands for Hydrologic Engineering Center River Analysis System. And what the hydraulics software does is it takes those peak flow rates and it combines that with resistance values for different land covers, land uses. So for instance, a cornfield or a bean field will have a certain N value. It's called a Manning's N value. And that determines how much resistance to flow there is. So a heavily wooded area would have a very high Manning's N, and a paved parking lot, for instance, would have a very low Manning's N value because there's very little resistance to the flow. So the HECRAS model is run, and the output from that HECRAS model is a series of elevations, water surface elevations, along at particular cross sections along the flooding reaches, the flooding sources. And then we take those elevations, the consultant does, and combine that with the LiDAR, and then in some cases we have survey that was done for all the, I believe there were a bunch of bridges that were evaluated. We either use as-built plans or just bridge information that was surveyed. And so all the areas in this and these two PMRs, physical map revisions, are zone AE. And that's zone AE with a floodway. And so there's no really zone A areas. They're all zone AE. And that zone AE means that you have a floodway fringe or a floodway. I'm sorry, yeah, you have a floodway fringe, which is the floodplain. And then you have the floodway. And the floodway is centered over the stream. And that's an area dedicated to conveying the 1% annual chance flood. So there's no development allowed in the floodway, no fill, no buildings allowed. And so the idea is you have that area dedicated so that you can develop in the floodway fringes, in the floodplain itself, but you can't develop in the floodway. So the floodway is shown on the maps, and then the base flood elevations are also right on the map. And so on the Winnebago River, there's the length of the study there. It was a considerable amount of restudy that was done, about 15 miles, and there's the beginning and end points shown 300 feet upstream from County Highway 838 near Leland to about a quarter of a mile upstream of Taylor Avenue in Hancock County. And then Bear Creek, which is a tributary coming in from the east, flowing into the Winnebago River. That's about a half mile, or starts at a half mile upstream of Pilot Knob Road to the confluence of the Winnebago River. So once the elevations are spit out of the HECRAS model, then we combine that with the terrain data from the LiDAR, and then that establishes the floodplain boundary. And then the floodway is determined from an analysis of equal and opposite conveyance reduction along the stream itself. You can go to the next slide, Jason. So on the map itself, you'll see the floodway, and these are considered high-risk zones, and then the zone AE, and then we don't have any zone A in this restudy, but there is zone A on the countywide maps, which became effective, I believe, April 4th of 2020 for Winnebago County, and then there's some panels that were finished in June of 2020. And then, so the Zone A is considered the high risk, and then the Zone X, and there's two different sort of types of Zone X. There's the area that's brown color, and that's considered the 0.2% annual chance of flooding, and that's the 500-year floodplain. And then everything outside of that, in the general area that's not labeled, is considered Zone X. And there are insurance implications, insurance premium implications on the difference between a moderate risk of Zone X and the Zone A. And that'll be explained a little bit later, but basically, the Zone X, you can get flood insurance for about a tenth of the cost of what it costs in the Zone A areas. So that's kind of an overview of how the maps are made, and I'll hand it back over to Jason at this point.
Thanks, Scott. So here are the just some screen captures of the regulatory products that were emailed back on December 3rd for Leland and Winnebago and January 7th for Forest City and Hancock County. Excuse me, that's actually January 7th for Leland and Winnebago and December 3rd for Forest City and Hancock County. So what you see on the right-hand side of the screen is just a screen image of the map panel number, or the flood insurance rate map panel for Forest City. And on the left side is the flood insurance study. That's a corresponding technical document that explains a lot of the information that Scott just spoke of, the hydraulics, the hydrology, the topographic data. It also contains a more detailed map legend that goes along with the firm panels. And because these are detailed studied streams, the Winnebago River and Bear Creek, we have what we call stream profiles in the very back of the flood insurance study, where the detailed study reach is actually plotted out on a graph, and you can find the base flood or 100-year flood elevation along any point of that detailed study reach on those stream profiles. The profiles actually include the cross sections that you can kind of see on the map there, those black lines that go perpendicular to the floodplain. Those are lettered cross sections where survey data was actually captured on the ground by a survey team. And these products are available at FEMA's Map Service Center. The link is down at the bottom of the screen. Don't rush to jot this down. I will be sending out a copy of this presentation after we conclude the meeting today. So you'll have all the links and everyone's contact information in a PDF document. In addition to the flood insurance study and the flood insurance rate maps, every community received a summary of map actions list. This is a list that categorizes all of the letters of map change that have been approved by FEMA in each community. The summary of map actions is divided into 4 categories, and depending upon what case, what category a letter of map change is placed on, it determines how they're treated with the preliminary information. So before I go into explaining what the summary of map actions is, we'll launch the next poll question. So have you reviewed your community summary of map actions? This would have been emailed along with a link to the maps and the flood insurance study. If you have, yeah, that's great. If you haven't, but you need, or if you have and you need help understanding it, hopefully I will give you some information to help you better understand what it means. If you haven't, that's okay. We have copies. We can email them to you following the meeting today. Just let us know. Put a note in the chat, and we will email you copies out later on. Just give you a few more seconds to answer the question here. All right, we only had one person respond and they said yes, so that's encouraging, but we have 4 communities wrapped up in this project, so please let us know if you have not received it, and we will get you get you your copies.
Carla left the room here at Winnebago County, and here she comes.
All right. So as I said, the summary of map actions are divided into 4 categories.
Oh,
So whenever we do floodplain mapping, you know, we try our very best to create the most accurate maps possible.
and you're muted, so they wouldn't have heard.
But due to scale limitations, changes in urban development, and other things, you know, floodplain mapping is not static, it's a dynamic thing. So there oftentimes maps need to be updated. One way to do that is through letters of map revision or letters of map amendments. And what we mean by a letter of map revision is that if it's a project that changes the physical flooding characteristics of a floodplain, like constructing a new bridge, constructing a levee, building a dam, those things will actually change the physical flooding characteristics of a stream. Those type of cases are called letters of map revision, and they are incorporated into preliminary mapping projects and are shown on the map panels themselves. Now, we also have things called letters of map amendment. And these are to correct minor boundary locations or changes in the natural topographic area that's not picked up in the LiDAR information. Oftentimes, individuals that want to pursue a letter of map amendment is doing so to try and waive the mandatory purchase requirement of flood insurance. And they do this by hiring a surveyor. These letters of map amendment that are unaffected by the preliminary mapping information is placed in category 2. It's called not incorporated. It's a little confusing. It's because the results of these letters of map amendment are actually not shown on the map panels themselves. They are still valid if they're in category 2. And they will remain valid, and then we will revalidate these cases one day after the maps go effective. Now, category 3 is called superseded. These are the letters of map amendment or letters of map revision based on fill that are being superseded by the new preliminary flood hazard information. So what this means is that on these cases that are superseded, that are no longer valid, the floodplain boundaries have increased, or the 100-year flood elevations have increased. So the risk of flooding has increased on these properties, and that once removed based on the older maps will no longer be valid moving forward. So these are placed in category 3. And then the 4th category is called to be redetermined. This is for letters of map change that have removed multiple lots through a letter of map amendment, or multiple lots through a letter of map revision based on fill. And the new preliminary information changes the determination on just a few of those lots, not all of them. We have to go back in and determine which of those lots are going to be remaining valid, which will be superseded, and the FEMA will issue the cases once the mapping project is effective. So I know this is a lot of information. It might be a little over your heads, but if you have any questions about the summary map actions and what it means, you can reach out to me. We can have a conversation, and I can explain it better one-on-one. Dan Curley or Christine Estes are also a good source to answer your questions about the summary map actions. So again, if you haven't received it, or if you don't think that you received it, please let us know, and we will get you copies after today's meeting. So I'm going to break away from the presentation and show you a couple of websites where you can actually view the preliminary mapping information that we issued this past winter. So the first site I'm going to show you is called iowafloodmaps.org. This is hosted by the Iowa Flood Center, based on the campus of the University of Iowa. To view the preliminary maps, we will direct you to the Draft Flood Hazard Maps area and click on View the Maps button. And then this just takes you to a screen that describes the difference between draft, preliminary, and effective flood hazard information. Click on the orange The View button. It'll take you to a screen with a drop-down menu. And you can just go to Winnebago or Hancock County, click enter. So up here in the right-hand corner, we have an address function. You can type in any street address of your interest, but I'll just type in City of Neyland, and it'll take you right to the general area surrounding the community. So what you're looking at here is the Winnebago River. This is A38. This is the beginning of the new preliminary flood hazard information associated with this physical map revision. You have the option of changing the background to either a map or a satellite image. And down here in the left-hand corner is a map legend that describes the different flood zones. So if you recall from Scott Ralston's discussion, what you're looking at here is the red and blue cross-hatched area is that floodway of this detailed study reach along the Winnebago River. This is the area that's reserved for the conveyance of the 100-year flood, and not much development can be placed within this floodway because of the stricter or the more regulatory standards that we have. The blue with the black cross-hatching is that AE zone, or the floodway fringe. And the bronze area, or the orangish brown, that is the 500-year floodplain, or the shaded X zone. So this is iowafloodmaps.org. The website uses Google Maps as its base layer, so you should see, familiar businesses or other landmarks within their community that are registered with the site. Another website is FEMA's Flood Map Changes Viewer. Again, this also has a address function as well. I should mention that this works better with Internet Explorer or Microsoft Beam. It doesn't work so well with Google Chrome, so I would recommend using Internet Explorer or Microsoft Bing to access the Flood Map Changes Viewer. Again, you can type in a street address or just a city location in the upper left-hand corner, and it should take you to the community. And over here in the right-hand corner, there's a layer list. This layer list contains a lot of different information and data. So what you're looking at is a composite of a lot of information. It shows you the current effective information from 2018, the preliminary information that was mailed out on December 3rd for Forest City and Hancock County, and then the changes when you compare the effective information to this preliminary information. So it might be best just to uncheck everything first, just to give you a better idea of what we're doing. So the National Flood Hazard Layer will show you the current effective information for your community. Again, for Forest City, it's from 2018. And this site has a lot of information tied to it, so it may bog down a bit like it is now. Maybe I should go to the preliminary information. Okay, so what we're seeing here is the preliminary information that was mailed out on January 7th, or excuse me, December 3rd. This, again, is the floodway along the Winnebago River and the floodway fringe, or that AE zone. And here you actually have the cross sections that illustrate what the 100-year base flood elevation is along the stream. And then the orangish brown is that shaded X zone, or 500-year floodplain that shows the moderate risk. And so what I want to point out is that we do have what we call the preliminary changes since last firm, or since last app. And in this case, it'd be 2018. Anything in yellow will show it. Typically an increase in flooding when you compare the effective to the preliminary information. If there's anything in purple, that will show a reduction in the flood hazard information. It doesn't look like the National Flood Hazard Layer is cooperating today, so I apologize for that. But this is a really good site just to see what the changes are when you compare the preliminary and effective flood hazard information. There is also a tool that allows you to add information. So as you can see, the aerial photograph doesn't have any road names on it. You can type in transportation, and you can add data and bring up the street names for your community there. It also has a compare and contrast tool that will allow you to drop a pin on any location in the floodplain and compare that flood hazard information from the effective flood hazard, the effective map from 2018 and the preliminary maps. So this is a good site for property owners to look at if you want to share it with your community. It's also good for insurance agents, any realtors in your community. And I want to go back to iowafloodmaps.org real quick because we have some non-regulatory products that help communicate the risk a little bit better than the flood insurance rate maps. So with the regulatory products, those are the flood insurance rate maps. They tell you whether you're in the floodplain or not, but they don't give you a full scope of the risk for your community. Again, we do have a county selecting tool here, and also an address feature. So what's great about this site is that we have depth grids. And so back when we started doing the countywide first generation of digital flood insurance rate maps, we produced 8 different flood intervals, or 8 different returns in addition to the 100-year floodplain. And what we have here is depth grids associated with the 100-year flood. You can actually see the depth of flooding associated with the flood, whether it's a 100-year flood, 500-year flood. So what you're looking at here is the depth of flooding associated with the 100-year flood. The darker blue areas are going to be 8+ feet. You can see within the channel of the Winnebago, that's the deepest water. And as you move out, obviously move out to the edge of the floodplain, the depth of flooding gets shallower. So you can see in those tan areas, you're looking at a half a foot. So this website gives you an idea of what the depth of flooding is at any location within the floodplain. This is really great for emergency management coordinators and emergency response. So it's just another way to communicate the risk and understand what your flood risk is at a particular property. Another option is what we call the flood risk gradient. So again, this will show the composite of the 8 different returns that are listed here between the 2 all the way to the 500, and show you where the hot spots are, where the greatest risk to flooding is. Obviously near the channel is the area that's greatest risk to flooding. As you move out, the risk does decrease. So that blue area would be associated with the 500-year floodplain. The lighter blue area would be associated with, this shows you just on a percentage base where flooding is more likely to occur on a year-to-year basis. So I'm going to go back to the presentation. And I'm going to turn it over to Dan and Christine to talk about the regulatory process.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jason.
Yeah, Dan, before you get started, I just wanted to follow up on a couple of things that Scott pointed out regarding the hydrology that we prepared. We did, for Bear Creek, we did use the USGS regression equations that were developed and published in 2013. And for the Winnebago River, we did, there was a USGS gauge, so we did perform a gauge analysis there. And I did want to clarify too, we did have surveyors go out and collect the geometry for all road crossings, bridges and culverts, as well as channel geometry as well within the natural channel areas. Go ahead, Dan.
Okay. Thanks, Christine. So yes, good morning, everyone. Next, we will spend a few minutes just kind of going over the process process and getting orientated again on where we are in the schedule and what to expect moving forward. Generally, a FEMA flood risk project map update can take several years, and kind of where we are right now is sort of at the halfway point with these two physical map revisions for Hancock County and Winnebago County. The project began with sort of the scoping and coordination back in 2019, early 2019, and even late 2018. Most of the engineering took place throughout 2019, and then we started the floodplain mapping and database development for the FEMA products in kind of transitioning through the late 2019 and into 2020. And then we did have the flood risk review meetings for Hancock and Winnebago counties in March and April timeframe 2020. So since then, we've been working on developing the flood insurance rate maps, the FIS report, the database, and yeah, everything went out, distributed preliminary to the communities in December and January, and that kind of leads us to where we are today. We're entering into what's referred to as that post-preliminary processing period. You can go to the next slide, Jason. So the post-prelim process can generally take about 15 to 20 months. And this whole process from here through to effective map adoption is summarized by it's kind of a due process phase, coordination with the communities, review, and finalization of the final map products. So, as Jason had mentioned earlier, we're at the community coordination officers meeting. This meeting generally takes place 30 to 45 days after prelim. And then in the next 90 days, there will be the project will be published in the Federal Register. So the FEMA project team, we will have some outreach, a little bit of touch points with the communities to verify some information and contact information. So you may receive phone calls over the next few months just to verify information on contacts, names, and addresses, and newspaper publications. After the project publishes in the Federal Register, there will be some coordination with you all, the city officials, to publish notices in the newspapers, in your local newspapers, to advertise the upcoming statutory 90-day appeal period. So that'll begin. You will first receive a letter that kind of provides you with notification that the appeal period has been scheduled. The newspapers are planning to publish, FEMA is planning to publish notifications in the newspapers on these dates. It'll provide those dates to you. There will be 2 newspaper notifications a week apart that advertise that public appeal period. And it's on the second publication in those newspapers. That will be the official start date of the 90-day appeal period. And then basically it's during that appeal period that the public are able to review the maps and provide any comments, questions, appeals, anything at all. And then after that 90-day appeal period ends, there will be a period of about 6 to 8 months where any comments or appeals are resolved, and there's also some quality reviews that are mandatory through Fema, where the final map products are reviewed and QC'd thoroughly before what is called the letter of final determination is finally sent out to the communities, signifying that all pencils are down. The project team has completed the updates to the regulatory products, and any questions, comments, appeals have been resolved. Once that LFD letter, the letter of final determination, goes out, there's a 6-month adoption and compliance period where FEMA and the Iowa DNR will work with the communities to assist you in getting the final FEMA products adopted into your local ordinances. And basically that would be the, after that 6-month period, that'll be the end. So we're expecting, with these two projects, we're projecting the LFD dates to be in February of 2022 for Hancock County, and then March of 2022 for Winnebago County. So roughly about a year out from LFD. And then the final map products will be effective 6 months from that point, which will be August, September of 2022. All right, next slide. So what is your role in this process? So as city officials, you basically want to be thinking about how to get the word out about the appeals process. You definitely want to be reviewing the products, the preliminary products as they are today. Make sure to share everything with your city staff, public works, engineers and everything. And just make sure all local stakeholders are aware of the prelim products and have had a chance to review everything. And just start to prepare for that 90-day appeal period coming up, probably sometime this summer. And then we do want to make a distinction now between comments and appeals. And some of you may already be comfortable with these terminologies. I think Hancock and Winnebago have released relatively recent effective map products. Definitely Winnebago. I believe they had Winnebago went countywide with map updates in 2020, I believe. But the difference between comments and appeals is critical. Comments are low effort. Appeals are much more of a high effort, as the graphic shows. You can go ahead and go to the next slide, Jason. So a comment is going to be anything that doesn't involve changing the flood hazard information on the maps. So that's mainly related to base map information. So if you see that the street centerline data, if you have some more recent street data that you could provide that would clean up an area, perhaps there's been some development and you want to add some new street data, update street names, city limits, definitely fall under the category of comments. So anything at all that is base data related or typos or any errors that you see related to that type of stuff. And, again, comments, just like appeals, comments must be funneled through the community and submitted during the 90-day appeal period. Next slide. And then an appeal is, actually, Jason, do you want to do the whole question now or after I talk about this slide?
We can do it afterwards.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, an appeal is going to be anything related to the engineering or the modeling related to the flood hazard data that's depicted on the map. So an appeal is in situations if you see an error related to the base flood elevations or the flood hazard boundaries, or if you question the floodway delineation and you have data that would suggest a different floodway designation or flood zone designation. This stuff is going to be categorized as appeals. And to support an appeal, the appellant must be able to perform and provide new engineering analysis. So new hydrology, new hydraulics, plot new profiles, delineate new revised flood zones. So you have to be able to basically replace the engineering that was that was already done on the prelim maps. And anything that is an appeal must be supported by a certified registered professional engineer or licensed surveyor. And again, everything has to be submitted through the local community and submitted to Fema during the 90-day appeal period. All right. Yeah, I think that is the last slide. Yeah, you can go ahead and do the survey.
All right, so does your community plan on making a comment and or an appeal? 4 options there, yes, no, don't know, or other.
I don't know that we need.
The important thing to know about appeals is that if you think you're going to be making an appeal, again, that's a much more high-level effort where you're going to be contesting the preliminary data with other scientific or technical data. You want to start that process now, so reach out to us, either us, DNR, or Dan and Christine at AECom.
Terry, do you
so
know?
that maybe we can help you maybe gather some information.
I don't think that we need to.
Result in a
I guess the only thing we'd have to dig into, I don't know if the...
And something else I want to note before we
fire hall in Port City
Dan did discuss that the 90-day appeal period will be announced in local newspapers before it actually starts. If you could drop in the chat the name of newspaper publications you guys used for public notices or other city or county official business, please let us know and share that information so we can use those publications for the appeal start letters. All right. Thank you. All right, so let's talk about flood insurance. We're kind of rounding third base here. We're almost finishing up here. So the next step is to talk about how these maps will relate to flood insurance. So flood insurance is important because regular homeowners coverage will not cover damages caused by flooding. Flood insurance means protecting your largest financial investment, your home or business. And we want you to know where you can find some cost-saving measures for constituents. Flooding, it doesn't take a lot of water to cause a lot of damage in a home or a business. FEMA estimates that roughly just 6 inches of water can cause over $50,000 in damages. A flood insurance policy isn't covering that building. That's going to be an out-of-pocket expense for that business or property. So just to run through some flood insurance basics real quick, where is it required? Flood insurance is mandatory when you have a structure that's located in the Zone A or Zone AE, which is the 100-year floodplain. Has a 1% chance of occurring in any given year. It's required for those structures that have a federally insured mortgage, have accepted disaster assistance, or received a federal grant. So flood insurance is required if you have a home or business located in the 100-year floodplain and it has a mortgage, has received disaster assistance in the past, or received a federal grant. Now, it's recommended in that shaded Zone X, that what we call the 500-year floodplain. It's that bronze area illustrated on the maps. It's recommended there. It's also highly recommended for homes in the Zone A or Zone AE that no longer have a mortgage. So it's important that once that loan is paid off, that mandatory purchase requirement goes away, but the risk does not. The risk is still there. It's important for those property owners to know that and to purchase adequate coverage. So I want to run through some cost-saving options that property owners have in regards to flood insurance. First is what we call the preferred risk policy. This is the cheapest policy made available through the National Flood Insurance Program. There are some eligibility requirements for anyone to purchase this policy. One, the property must be located outside the high-risk area. So if you're located in Zone A or Zone AE, you're not eligible to purchase a preferred risk policy. So you have to be located outside the 100-year flood. And there's flood loss eligibility requirements too. So if you've had any prior flood claims, you'll need to check with an insurance agent too.
Sure.
Another option is the newly mapped procedure. So the FEMA flood map changes viewer is a good site to see if we have an increase in flooding on property in your community and determine which property owners might be eligible for the newly mapped procedure. So this will be when you have a structure that's not in the 100-year floodplain today, but moving into the 100-year floodplain on the preliminary maps. They'll want to be able to take advantage of the cost-saving measures under the newly mapped procedure, which is a policy. They can purchase a policy under the newly mapped procedure 1 year after the new maps take effect. Now, another option is the grandfathering of flood insurance rates. This is kind of the National Flood Insurance royalty program, if you will. Grandfathering allows individuals to purchase a policy and hold on to that policy before the new maps take effect in order to get rates associated with the prior map. So if you have individuals that currently have flood insurance and the risk is increasing, we ask that those policyholders maintain continuous coverage and they'll be able to pay rates associated with the flood zone on the prior maps before the maps take effect in August or September 2022. So you can grandfather a flood zone, you can grandfather a base flood elevation. So it's important to do that and maintain continuous coverage before the maps take effect. And one other option for cost-saving measures is what we call the community rating system. This is a separate program within the National Flood Insurance Program. This is an incentive-based program for communities that go above and beyond the state and federal minimum requirements of the National Flood Insurance Program. If communities adopt higher regulatory standards, if they actively promote flood insurance, they can earn points towards premium savings. So for every 500 points that community earns, their policyholders will see a 5% reduction on their annual premiums. Right now, we have 13 communities across the state that participate in the community rating system. Up in your area, I think the closest one might be, even though it's not all that close, the Charles City participates. They do have what we call a Class 9 rating, so people that have flood insurance in that community see a 5% off their annual premium for flood insurance. And the more points you earn, the greater discounts policyholders will receive. Now, something I want to bring up is that FEMA is in the midst of changing how they rate flood insurance policies. The risk rating 2.0, as it's called, has been in the works for the last few years. And we've been told by FEMA headquarters that rate changes will be coming starting October 1st of this year. They're supposed to be releasing those new rates April 1st. And this will be something completely different to how flood insurance has been rated for the last 50 years or so. So this is something that we wanted just to let you know that some of these preferred, these potential cost-saving measures might be going away under risk rating 2.0. But I will say that there's people in Congress that have gotten wind of risk rating 2.0 and the potential rate increases on some policyholders, and have been wanting to meet with FEMA to understand the consequences of these rate increases on people who purchase flood insurance. So unfortunately, we don't have a lot of information about risk rating 2.0 at this time, but just be aware that it could be happening coming this fall. And Don Masterson, who's on the line, is from FEMA Region 7. If you have any more information about risk rating 2.0, I would urge you to reach out to FEMA Region 7. We have a flood insurance specialist down there. His name is Chris Parsons, and he has a lot of good information that you might be able to share. Don, do you have anything to add about risk rating 2.0 before I move on?
No, it's exactly what you were saying. There's not enough information right now to put out. And if we did put something out, we don't want it to be untrue or something like that. So we're waiting for them to push all the information to Chris. And like you said, Chris will be able to handle most of the questions that come for right now.
Okay, great, thank you. I apologize for not having a lot of information. We're only sharing the information that we've been given by FEMA. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me or Don today. So just to wrap things up, just to summarize, so if you have property owners moving from a low risk, that shaded zone X, into the high risk, the zone AE, flood insurance will be mandatory if there is a mortgage on that structure, if they receive a federal grant or receive federal disaster assistance. Now, conversely, if you have a reduction in risk where you're moving from the zone AE to a shaded zone X, flood insurance is optional, but again, we do recommend that property owner maintain coverage. The reason we want people to maintain coverage in the shaded X zone is that a quarter of all the claims made to the National Flood Insurance Program come up outside the zone A or zone AE. So flooding does occur quite often in those FEMA mapped 500-year floodplains. And again, if you're moving from a high risk to a low risk, the policy could be converted to a preferred risk policy and capture a cheaper premium. And if there's no change in your risk level, then there's no change in your insurance requirements. So just to capture some of the steps ahead and what we expect of local communities in regards to the preliminary mapping process. Again, we can't urge you enough to review the maps, review your summary of map actions, let us know if you're going to make comments or appeals. Inform your residents of the new maps. FEMA nor the DNR will actually reach out to the property owners that will be affected by the preliminary mapping study. So we'd want to work with you if you intend to do that. We can provide you with some information, which I'll be discussing here in a bit. So we do want you to educate your residents about the potential flood risk changes on the new maps and the potential insurance requirements. And then again, as Dan mentioned, once that letter of final determination is issued, that will begin the map adoption period. And you're probably familiar with it as we went through it just last year for Winnebago County and in 2018 for Hancock County. So either myself or Ken Bowman will be helping you through that process to make sure that you update your ordinance before the maps go effective. And so again, as I mentioned earlier, each community that participates in the National Flood Insurance Program has adopted a floodplain management ordinance. That ordinance references the effective floodplain maps for your community, and the regulations within that ordinance apply directly to the FEMA mapped 100-year floodplains. So the ordinance contains regulations that require permits to be issued for any new development located in that FEMA map special flood hazard area or zone A or zone AE. And in Iowa, we require new structures in the zone A or zone AE to be elevated 1 foot above the 100-year flood elevations. That is the state of Iowa requirement that is baked into the local ordinances that communities adopt to join the National Flood Insurance Program. So many times when you have proposed floodplain development in your community, you want to make sure that you contact the DNR to make sure that that project also will receive a DNR floodplain permit. The DNR's regulations don't apply to the FEMA floodplain maps. We have our own thresholds for permits, but you want to make sure that either you as a local official or the project applicant contacts the DNR to determine whether or not the DNR is required in addition to the local floodplain. So we do have some, or not we at the DNR, but FEMA has some tools to make available to you as local officials to help educate for citizens and residents. The first one is a community toolkit and media outreach template, so that if you are contacted by local media regarding the preliminary maps, this is just a good outreach template to use to have some talking points. There are customizable brochures that could be made tailored to this mapping project for your community to help provide information for citizens. I know with COVID, I don't know if you guys have open office hours at City Hall or the courthouse, but things like this brochure can be left at the city clerk's office, the zoning office, the auditor's office, things like that. And we haven't been doing in-person open houses in a while, but there are community posters that can be made for if you do end up having in-person open houses. If you would like us to do an open house for your citizens, please let us know, and we can set up a time to talk about that and do it virtually. We just ask that you reach out to us and let us know. There also is an infograph, very similar to the slide that we talked about, the milestones that Dan Curley discussed. It just talks about the high points in the mapping process. It kind of breaks it down in a more simple view for the general public to understand all the different administrative steps that the floodplain mapping project goes through before we issue effective maps. And these documents are all located at Fema Media Library. Again, so don't feel like you have to write down the web address at the bottom of your screen. I'll be providing a copy of the presentation later today. One other thing I want to touch upon is we at the DNR worked with Iowa State Extension and Outreach Office about 6 years ago now to put together a tutorial series on flooding in Iowa and how we in Iowa carry out the National Flood Insurance Program. There's 22 videos hosted on the Extension's website that range in topics from the NFIP, floodplain mapping, floodplain regulations, flood insurance, letters of map change. And so these are really geared towards the general public and local and elected officials that may not, do a lot of floodplain management or approving of floodplain development. So we've eliminated a lot of the technical jargon that we use in the business and kind of strip out all the detailed topics and just boil it down to the information that's digestible for the public to understand. So if you want to learn more about how we do floodplain management in Iowa, I would encourage you to visit the Extension's website and check out a few of the videos just to learn more about the National Flood Insurance Program. And FEMA has some great videos on flood insurance. These are great resources, again, for any open houses that you may want to hold or that we hold on your behalf in a virtual setting. These have a lot of information about flood insurance. We at the DNR are by no means flood insurance experts. We know just enough to be dangerous, so if you have specific questions about flood insurance, please bring them to us or Don Masterson at the region. And if we don't have the answer, we'll point you to the flood insurance specialist, Chris Parsons. And with that, that concludes our presentation. Here's a list of all the names and contact information from the team today. Again, don't feel like you have to jot it all down. This will be in the presentation that I email later today. But I wanted to say thank you for spending time with us this morning. And
just before people start heading out, we do have a couple of polls to get through. The first one here is about outreach materials. Launch that here, and it's do you feel you have the materials that you need to do outreach with your residents?
So this is just us gauging you to determine whether you, want help, and if you need help, do you need some information to send out to citizens in your community?
Close this up. Looks like a bit of a split, but as Jason said, if you do need help reaching out to your residents, feel free to reach out to us first, and we can provide some more guidance and resources to do what you're looking to do. And then we have one last poll, which is our retest from the beginning. And do you feel you are now ready to communicate to your residents about changes to the new maps and flood insurance requirements? Again, no right or wrong answer, and this isn't the last you'll hear from us. So if you do need any help or have any questions going forward,
What do you want me to
you're
answer?
more than welcome to give any one of us a call.
I say yes.
Well, which one? Susan, you're the tiebreaker.
I say kind of.
Okay.
I think 3 is our magic number here. So it looks like we trended upwards, which is always good. But if you do need any help going forward, please do reach out. We are more than welcome to help you as well.
All right, well, thanks for your participation today, answering the questions. I want to thank you for dropping the newspaper names in the chat. We will use those publications to announce the 90-day appeal period. Again, if there are any questions, we'll remain on the line for a few minutes afterwards, so please feel free to stick around if you want to speak with us. Otherwise, you're free to go, and I thank you for your time this morning. Anybody else have anything to add from the team?
Nope, nothing here, Jason.
All right. Thanks for your help, Christine and Dan. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you from Winnebago.
Yep, you're welcome. Thank you for attending.
So was that other camera put up just for this?
Yes.
Because I was looking at our camera and I'm like, there ain't no way that thing can pan around that corner. And then all of a sudden I looked at the corner. Here I thought I was.
Nope, that's Mr. Guth.
Is that a permanent fixture or just for this?
It was just for this lovely meeting.
So are we not doing Sandy at all today then?
Yeah, I just told her we'd call her when we were done.
Okay. Does anybody need a break?
Well, yeah, sort of the odd one out here. I'm with Senator Joni Ernst's office. I think I picked a good day to come up and learn a little bit about what's going on.
There you go.
Here's my contact information. I'm the regional director for this area. If there's ever anything I can do, feel free to reach out.
I think so. I think so.
Yeah, Justin, you kind of sat in on a long floodplain.
I always, every county board of supervisors meeting is a little different. I've been to some that have been 10 minutes to 2 hours. So I always factor in about 2 hours. This always depends on what's going on, so.
Well, you were just waiting for the open forum part of it?
Oh, I was just gonna, once the FEMA part was over, I was just gonna give you my card and go ahead and keep moving down the road. I'm going to Worth County and then Mitchell, so I just wanted to thank you for everything you're doing. If there's anything we can ever do, feel free to reach out. I'm a stone's throw away over in Cedar Falls, so I'm more than happy to do what I can. And if there's ever events or anything, or letters of recommendation, issues you're having with FEMA or any other federal agency, feel free to reach out. I'm more than happy to help out, so.
Great.
All right.
Good to have your card.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Good day.
You too.
What?
So are we
Where?
are we calling Sandy up?
Yes, I can do that.
Okay.
Go.
Some of those people in that meeting were actually eating lunch, I think.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's, I was jealous. I didn't bring anything. Well, I was sipping coffee, I guess.
I should grab a coffee.
You can come up now. Okay.
So it just seemed like all they really needed was so that they could actually have publication.
Yes, and I sent that to them.
That's great. It is only the two, right?
Yes.
That we-
Yep. This is look at my handbook.
Bring your stamper. I took
There's
mine.
not
I should, I'm just gonna put mine in the drawer in there.
because I have to write for Terry Derby on each one anyways.
I don't know about those.
Maybe I'll ask.
On that stuff there, you may just be able to sign.
I think you're okay with those payroll ones and stuff like that. You shouldn't have to.
You think? Okay.
Yeah, I
sorry.
don't think so,
Because
yeah.
I was getting really good at writing your name otherwise.
I think you're okay doing it the other way.
It sounds like a bit of a risk there. She starts signing everybody's names here pretty quick.
I would just sign, don't sign Terry's name on all those, just sign yours.
That's kind of what we just decided.
Okay.
Hope that was okay.
Yes.
Hi.
Oh,
I put my papers there.
oh, sure.
You know what? We need to get this back out for people, don't we? That little table.
Yes.
I'm not afraid of her.
You should be.
You make me shake with fear.
How are you, Sandy?
I'm pretty good, thank you. How are you guys doing?
Good, how are you?
Well, your last one went good.
Really?
Well,
Is that the word for it?
you said noon. So I just put,
For Terry? I can hold on to it for him.
Sandy, is this the same thing you emailed out?
yeah, I think so. I just hand wrote some notes on there.
You want me to just hold it for you, Terry, till I see you?
Yeah, just put
Yeah, I
it in
think,
my box if you want.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'll
it's
just
a-
put it in your box.
yeah, it's the same thing I mailed out on March 9th.
Okay.
So are we ready to discuss this, Sandy?
Okay, I just wondered if you would like me to proceed with me getting this health insurance, which would cost almost half the cost of what you're paying now for my health insurance. And Carla, I really don't know if you take it on 24, 26 pay periods for the.
24.
20, okay, I didn't know for sure what it was, so, for the county's portion of it. I did visit with Brittany from the Health Partners to see if this is something that had to wait till July 1st, and she said, no, since it has to do with Medicare, it's any time that I do it to let her know, then they could take me off their policy. So,
Can you get off the, say if I wanted to go on my wife's health insurance, can I get off the policy anytime?
You can do it at a qualified event.
Qualified
you
event?
should visit
So-
with her. I think you can because,
No, you can't, just with Medicare. You have to have a qualifying event for any other type of change. So it has to be like a birth, a death, lose your job, somebody loses their job, or somebody gets a different job, or, so there has to be a qualifying event for you to be able to go on,
or July 1st.
No, to get off,
to go off, either way,
either way.
either way.
July 1st would be that, because that's when you start over again, right?
This just makes me think of something that's, my wife mistakenly signed up for Waldorf's, and it's coming out of her paycheck, so she's double insured now, and they won't let her off until the year is up.
Well, that's not good.
So it's $200 a month.
Yep, you have to have a qualifying event to be able to,
So that's something that's
it's,
not just over there. It's,
no, it's the law.
All right.
Terry, you had some thoughts?
I think it's something we've done in the past, like when Willie was here, where we paid for his supplemental when he wasn't on our insurance.
I do know too, I did make copies in case you did approve this, that I have to have a county sign showing that I still have the health insurance, and to give it back to me, because I have a form that I have to send to Medicare with my information on it before it can go into effect. And this is for Part B. And then once I get Part B, then I'm able to sign up for this other stuff. I can't do it until I get Part B with the supplement in my Part D prescription program.
So to me, there's no doubt in my mind that she can do this. My question is, does the handbook allow for all of the Part D and B and whatever else? Because I thought with Willie and with Jim, we just paid like a Part B or something. So that's,
So you're wondering about the additional
yes.
parts? And how do we find that out?
Well, like the policy says, the county will provide reimbursement to employees who are eligible for Medicare for the cost of a supplemental insurance policy through a company of their choice. This will be in place of a regular single policy through the county's current insurance plan. The amount of reimbursement is not to exceed the cost of a single policy through the county's then current health insurance provider. So I don't know if you want to call it Kelsey or you can get her opinion. That'd probably be.
I think that was my first thought, was to ask her. I mean, it certainly makes sense to the state of the county.
Yeah, no, if it saves the county money, I can't understand why anybody would challenge it even if it wasn't in the hand.
Right. I think it's just to clarify the additional.
And by rights, I'm still better off just keeping, if you don't, I'm still better off keeping your policy here, because the most I ever have to pay is the $2,000 if I even use it. Because you really, the health insurance here is really good.
Mm-hmm.
But I just thought I would explore this to see, because it does save
smart
more than half of what the policy is right now.
Yeah.
And then your portion would only be a third of that anyway, because it's the other two.
And there may be additional other people that would want to explore that once you,
Right.
you know, in the county. That might be some savings too.
I just think either way, we need to rewrite this section because it's vague.
Yeah. Yeah, it's vague at best. But we should put something in there like, you know, if it's in the county's best interest, that, you know, we will pay for this and this, the other.
So
parts.
if the whole thing is less money, even though it has more of the additional B and D's, the prescription parts, everything, then it still could, as long as it's still less money.
As long as it saves the county money, I can't understand why.
Are those figures correct? The 9,148, was that what the yearly policy? Did I use the right figures there?
I don't know. I don't.
Because I think I took it off my paycheck on the bottom what the county pays every.
It's in that ballpark.
Yeah, every pay period. It's right on the check there. So,
yeah.
And I just took it. I didn't know if it was 24, 26 pay periods because we get paid 26, but Carla said 24. So.
Yeah, it doesn't come out of.
Okay. I didn't know so.
It's 24.
So do we need to have Kelsey?
There are only 24 pay periods, right?
26.
There's 26 pay periods. The insurance only comes out of 24.
Well, there's the 24.
Yeah, I didn't know which one it was.
So one time I thought that there was less than 26 pay periods for some reason.
No.
Is that your leap year?
There's, we had an issue one time where there was 27 pay periods in a year. So then we had an issue.
So does it make sense to get Kelsey involved, just to have her look at it?
I texted her to see if she could come down
to do the verbiage at least.
Mhm.
I'd feel more comfortable that way, just because, it might not just be this time, there might be multiple people over the years that would wanna do it.
Yes. Like I said, I don't have a problem with it because it's better for the county. I just don't like it the way it's worded in the policy book. And if you're gonna approve all of this, I think you need to make a motion that specifies that you're gonna pay for her part B and D and F and,
Well, this is the health supplement B and D.
So
D's prescription plan, and the B, D, and the health supplement. Correct?
I don't know anything about Medicare.
Okay, well, D is the prescription plan, B is the doctor plan, that what you get for the doctor, and the health supplement's what you give privately to go along with your Medicare. Part A of Medicare is free, which is the hospital free.
It's very confusing.
And see, of course, every time I do this, I gotta talk to the ship representative, because you just got to talk to him, because it's just too confusing.
And who's that? And
Mike Ebal here in town is the ship representative. He's a volunteer for the supplements for Medicare.
Oh, really?
He does an excellent job.
And what's his name?
Mike Ebal, Ebaugh. He sees people at the public library here in town. By appointment, I'm sure.
Terry, what are your thoughts about?
Well, I'm more the common sense person. If the policy says not to exceed what it currently costs, then we should be able to go with that, but we should probably get an opinion from Kelsey on it.
Mm-hmm. Something that needs to be, has a deadline?
No, I can't do anything until you approve it, then I can do the Medicare, then after I get Medicare, then the other things I have to, I can't apply for those before that, so it makes no difference, I just want
about
to
the
share this.
Medicare, and then after that, we'll do the phone
Well, I'm
calls.
particularly interested because
Okay.
I will be there too.
Okay,
Well, you
thanks.
need to, I'll get you, you need to talk to him. It's just very confusing, I can give you,
We can do it after.
yeah,
I'll come down.
okay.
She'll be down in just a couple minutes.
Oh, that's great.
It's just very confusing. And see, the reason, when you start to draw, when you turn 65 and you start to draw Medicare, if you're working and you have a policy like I did here, you don't have to take out Part B.
Oh.
And, because you're working and you have health insurance. And then when you start to draw B, the price will not go up. They won't charge all that interest because you were working under your employer and had insurance. So then that's our statement I have to have the county sign also. So there's all kinds of different rules.
Sure.
Do you wanna,
Go on.
yeah, tell Skits down?
You want to just see if there's anything for open forum?
Yes, I have some stuff for open forum.
Okay.
You forgot to sign the front page at the top.
Is this one that has to have Terry's though, too, probably?
Yes, please. This is open forum though.
We have to do a received on that.
Yes, please. We have a lot of,
Your file folder is falling apart.
I've used it for so long.
Is Terry? Pardon? Terry's ill today, but well enough to be on the phone with us, so.
It's touch and go. I don't know if he's gonna make it or not.
I'll pray for you, Terry.
Thank you.
I may as well too
I've,
then.
I've, been-
Are
I've
we
been to the
allowed?
altar a few times.
Are we allowed?
We'll do it in our
Off time?
private time.
We have to put received on this Winnebago one too for the,
Yes, please.
Hello.
oh,
Hi.
Can anybody sit here?
Nope,
You.
you.
So we called you down because in the past, when we've done this, health insurance thing, we've only paid like a Part B for someone.
You're gonna have to explain health insurance.
so this
what are we
is-
talking about?
Page 31.
Okay.
You've only paid for the supplement, not the Medicare part.
Page 33.
In our policy, that's
Is this for, it's, okay, when you're retired, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Sandy's emailed this to the board.
okay.
So that policy is pretty vague, and like I said, we've only ever paid Part B before.
Okay.
So is it okay to pay for all of that, or?
But you've only ever paid Part B before.
No, they've only paid for the health supplement, they never paid the Medicare part.
Never paid the Part
Is that what it says there? I think it's just the health supplement that you paid for, not the Medicare portion, correct? Is that what it says?
In your email?
No,
Or
in the,
in what? What do you're gonna have to repeat?
in the policy.
The county will provide reimbursement to employees who are eligible for Medicare for the cost of a supplemental insurance policy through a company of their choice.
It's a health supplement to pay for.
Paragraph about it real quick here. It would just be the cost of the supplemental insurance policy.
I'm asking for the cost of all of it.
Under that paragraph, it reads pretty clear to me for the cost of a supplemental insurance policy. So the place of reimbursement. Yeah, that's how it reads to me.
I know that's how it reads, but I'm
so do
asking
we
them
have
to
to
change it.
change it before we get, because if it saves the county money, there's no reason not to do it.
You'd have to change the policy
So we'll
and then
change the
obviously
policy
have it
first.
apply to everybody.
And then have it apply to everybody, which, in the policy, I would have it state that it, you know, if it saves the county money, we will do this.
Well, and it says that already.
Is that it is in there?
It says that the amount can't exceed the current policy.
Oh, yeah, the
So-
amount of,
So
yeah.
that
So
almost
that's
covers it
basically
anyway,
saying-
in a sense, other than it doesn't.
Says we'll
say-
provide for the cost of a supplemental insurance policy.
So that prescription is not considered a supplemental insurance policy?
Health insurance is not my area of expertise, so somebody who actually deals with health insurance would have to
You
tell
know,
me
because
that.
if both of those are considered supplemental,
And maybe
Then
that's,
it's in
you could
there.
call Mike
Maybe
Galloway
that's the
or
question
something,
is-
but
if we could make a phone call or
Well-
two and find out if that would be considered.
Susan,
Yes?
Susan, I've dealt with all of these. They're all supplementals. I mean,
Yeah.
and you know, if it says a supplemental policy, that it'd be one of her choosing, unless we choose to change the policy.
Well, I think to say, rather than contact Galloway and have to pay for that, I think if we just change our policy to include those things, that have it stated in there so it's clear, and then, as long as it saves the county money, we will do these things. And make it apply to everybody, and then we'll come revisit it after we've done that and move forward with it.
I don't see any problem with that.
I don't either, as long as it's still, even however many supplements there are, if it's still
Saves
saving.
more than half of what the cost is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It still saves.
I mean, that's just
Yeah.
And
common
I would
sense,
do-
and if it benefits someone who works here,
Right.
it also makes sense.
And if I do it for Sandy, I'd do it for anybody here.
Obviously, it would just be from the date you change the policy forward. Anybody, I don't know if we have anybody currently utilizing that. No, okay.
No,
So that-
so it would be going
that would be
forward,
an
but,
issue.
and, you know, there's a real possibility, there's other people
That are my age.
that are, yeah, that would,
not that work here.
you know.
Thank you, Carla.
But you are setting a precedent,
Yes.
so,
Yeah, I don't see a problem with that.
so what, if any verbiage needs to be changed in that at all?
Well, you'd want to make it
Eliminate-
more clear about,
Eliminate, and make policies.
yeah.
Supplemental policies
Okay.
that we will include all.
Because, yeah, if this other
supplemental
stuff is
policies.
considered a supplemental policy, then
Yeah.
it would still fall under that.
Yep, yep,
So that should be the only change,
yep,
I would think.
just to make it plural.
Well, I would be for that.
Is this mine or is this mine?
So what's the motion today? To go ahead and allow the payment of these policies for Sandy with the understanding that we will change the policy book when we do the policy book rewrite?
Well,
Or do we want to change the
I would
policy?
change
I would
it
table it.
now, just in case there's somebody that this pops up for. I don't know if there's
Just
any.
put it on the agenda next week to change the wording in the policy and
Yeah.
then have hers after that to approve it after
Yeah.
that.
Because there's really no deadline date on this for me to
Yeah.
get it done. It's just,
That's why I was asking
Yeah,
you whether
right.
there was an issue at all, so.
no, my big thing, I wanted to visit with Brittany from your health partners to see, and she said, no, it's just whenever.
That just makes common sense. Money saving and a better
Don't
product.
start bringing common sense into politics.
So I will put
We
on
can
the
tell you're
agenda to change the wording for the policy on page 33 and put number 15 on the agenda again.
Yep.
Okay.
So at that time, I can bring this form up if they pass it for you to sign in, so I can.
Yes.
Okay, I'll keep with me then, okay.
I'll give you this back, Carla.
Thank you.
Sorry, I had no idea what you guys were talking about when I walked in.
Sorry, we just
That's
threw that
okay.
one at you.
That's all right. I'm used to that. Just sometimes have to get up to
We
speed.
thought you
like
were
to-
all omniscient.
We like to pass the
What?
We thought you knew all, heard all, and saw all.
Well, there's some truth to that.
All right.
Is she involved with number 17?
We'll keep her around for 17.
Yes, we got her here for that, yep.
So discussion with possible action on cell phone policy reimbursement.
Carla, remind me what page that was on in here, do you remember?
It's
That's okay, I can
really
find it.
not in a page at this point.
I
thought we added it.
Maybe.
37?
I don't know, there it is.
Let's see if there's a thing.
Does this need to be read, or are we, has it been posted or anything, or?
I mean, you do, because I just,
What'd you say,
Yep,
Sandy?
this is in there.
the nurses have a cell phone policy that you
They have
guys
their
approved.
own policy.
But it was approved through here though before we did it.
Yeah, but it's not in our handbook.
Okay, okay.
Your board does that.
No, we asked for the final approval to be here before doing it.
I'm gonna give you this back, it is in the,
It is.
it's on page 37 of the policy book.
Page 37, you said?
Yep. When, we should get that rolling again to,
Yes, I was gonna do that after the budget
okay,
stuff was over, and
Yeah,
now it
just let
is,
me
so now we need to talk.
okay. Figure out some dates to start looking at everything.
Well, this kind of came up, the cell phone policy thing kind of came up when we were discussing cell phone policy at the Care Connections of Northern Iowa meeting, and we were gonna increase we gave them, they were getting $25 a month to use their own phones or whatever, and they wanted to increase it to 50 or whatever,
Okay,
or 55, and then we just started discussing back and forth amongst us what all the different counties pay for cell phones.
yep,
And we were by far on the top of the list.
okay,
And then, then you can get a cell phone package with, with limited data on it for $40, $50 a month anymore. And some of the ones that we're paying now are much above that
okay.
per month.
So you're looking at just amending possibly the amount that you will reimburse an employee for? So that wouldn't affect, so you have two different options, you're either reimbursing an employee or an employee has a cell phone through the county, or maybe I'm the only one that does, I don't know if anybody else does.
There's a couple.
Okay,
But, and even, like, I guess the technology is there now too, to have two different numbers ring into your phone, and you can shut one of them off on the weekend, so you don't have to take county calls on the weekend.
mhm,
But, so that would also be an option for some of those people as well.
Yeah. and I don't know, Eric, do you know if there's a cost for that associated with that, or?
I would assume the extra line costs.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, it would have to be.
That would be something I would be interested in, potentially.
Say, and the thing is if I had a phone that I was being, say if I had a county phone, I wouldn't like it. I wouldn't want to carry two phones.
Yeah, well,
That's,
my position's a little bit different because I deal with a lot of confidential, sensitive matters. So like I have a different password on my county phone so that, Sam or somebody can't get into it, not that they would do anything. Because we're talking about.
Talking about that.
Well, right, yeah.
he's known.
Because I talk with DHS workers and my email comes to my.
There is one other participant.
And things like that. So I kind of like having the separate phone, but I'm probably the outcast on that just by nature of what I'm using
I'm
my
not
phone
necessarily,
for.
in certain circumstances, but on average, where people don't have the issues that you have.
Right,
as far
right.
as,
That's what I mean. I'm probably the outcast on
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
And there is a consideration too with if there was some kind of a records request.
Yes.
Then your personal phone gets drug into it, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. So it rarely happens and hopefully would never happen, but if there was some reason that my phone, my work stuff got subpoenaed, I would obviously like that separate from my personal stuff.
So we all kind of have that issue, like county emails or whatever.
Right.
It's on my private phone, and my private phone is subject to subpoena.
But you would it wouldn't be a subpoena for the public records request. You would just have to provide a copy of that email, whereas I could my entire phone could potentially be subject to a subpoena. Again, it would be rare and probably only come into play if there was some allegation of misconduct or something like that. which I don't anticipate, but still, mine is more the security. I just like having it totally separate from my personal, because then my mom and my husband and whoever else has my passcode to my personal phone doesn't have access to my work phone, since I deal with DHS and a lot of confidential stuff.
Yep.
But like I said, I'm probably the outcast on that. So I don't know if you were looking to change that part or just the rate that potentially.
No, just the rate, because everybody carries a smartphone nowadays.
Right.
And some of them were paying the whole bill for their phone, and some.
No, not and some. They have to turn in a bill, and we make sure that we're not paying for more than what
What a line would cost.
yes.
Oh, so there is, see, now I didn't realize that.
Yeah, there's a cap on it.
It's in here too. It's in the policy.
All right. Yeah,
So we don't pay more than what
a line would
one
cost.
line for that person. On the other, so
But some of them were,
Some of them are $65, $75.
well, one of them was almost 80, if I remember right.
no, the policy.
I thought we had a cap on it.
It goes up to $75.
All right, then it was 75. Well, and that's how I got the almost 80.
Yeah, well, and it does say in the handbook that the supervisors will evaluate that on an annual basis and revise it as needed.
So has it worked well? I mean, is there?
I think the problem is that some of us use our cell phone for work all the time. And I feel like I have a cell phone and I would have a cell phone anyway, so why should the county pay for me to use my cell phone? Because I'm gonna use it anyway.
You should pay for some of your phone also.
I pay for 100% of my phone. I don't have the county pay for it because
But others are having basically their whole phone paid for
by the county,
by the county.
yes,
When they're obviously using it for personal
private.
use as well.
yes.
So that needs to be reviewed.
Yeah.
I mean, I
My
personally. Go ahead, Terry.
My opinion is that if somebody's getting reimbursed for their cell phone, then it's public knowledge phone number on the website.
I don't want my phone number.
What positions, who all has a cell phone or is getting reimbursed for?
Sue McCullough, Eric, Goose,
Robert
Schwartz,
Okay.
Scott Minders.
Mark used to. I don't know if Ethan's going to or not.
I don't know the answer.
So is it, I guess my question is more, is it pretty limited to people who are using their phone outside of business hours and?
I would guess so. I mean, how do you know?
Right.
What if, somebody, I mean, not saying that you're doing this, but what if somebody shuts off their phone and doesn't answer it, and then we're paying for a county cell phone?
Yeah.
I mean, to me, if your personal phone, you needed it, you're gonna have it anyway. And if you want the county to pay for that whole phone, then it should be you should have to have two phones.
Like mine.
And like yours.
Yeah.
And if
I
you're
only
gonna-
use, yeah.
I don't think we should be paying anybody's complete phone bill, and they still have a phone that they can use whenever they want themselves.
I would think of it somewhat in relation to the mileage reimbursement policy. I mean, we have county vehicle versus personal vehicle, but, do you drive it all the time for work, or do you drive it all the time for personal, or, that kind of thing. But, I mean, I guess, it's probably more of a convenience factor, but also, what I know personally, what I turn in for reimbursement is less than it would cost the county to buy me a separate phone, and I'd rather not carry two phones at this point, but I think it just comes down to being practical to some extent.
The other 5 counties, the highest one was 30 reimbursement for the county.
For
using their own phone if I remember right.
Well, I think.
And they just have a flat rate. Like everybody who gets 30.
The only other thing that would come to mind to me, but it might complicate it more, is can you put like an allocation of, you use your work phone 25%, you use your phone for work purposes 25% of the time, 75% of the time it's personal. So you pay 25% of the bill up to I mean, you'd still have a cap on it, and it would still be limited to Eric's line and not his wife's, and your kids probably don't have cell phones yet, but, you know, I don't know if that gets a little bit complicated as far as how do you determine.
That it's 25% or however many.
Right, somebody would just, I mean, the board would just have to make the decision that we're reimbursing for 25% or whatever. I'm just throwing that number out there, but that's a thought. But then is everybody going to want to switch to having a county-owned phone, I suppose? I don't know if that's.
I doubt it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to carry two.
I mean, public
It is
health
annoying.
has just.
I use mine for county stuff all the time, and I
Yeah.
don't get any reimbursements.
Right. Well, and frankly, if I didn't have the issues that I have, I'd be doing the same.
Oh, no,
Yeah.
but yours is a much more understandable situation.
Yeah.
so.
Well, and it isn't just the phone, because I have it too. People call all the time, and it's not just the phone stuff, it's the emails, the agendas, you know,
Yeah.
the Zoom meetings. You know, I Zoomed on my phone yesterday for an hour-and-a-half meeting.
Sure.
Yeah, I do it all the time.
I mean, I prefer to use my phone, because I'm not always at my laptop.
I personally don't have a problem with paying for my own phone and using it for that, because I really don't want to carry two, and I'm gonna have the phone anyway, and if I wasn't using it for that, I'd have the phone anyhow. So, I mean, I don't have a problem not getting reimbursed at all.
I don't have a problem without getting reimbursed, but I don't want my cell phone number a public.
Oh, you just wait, there's
Oh,
gonna be a
it's
lot more
already
people getting it than you
But I don't
think.
want it, you know, I don't want it listed on our website either. I want them to email me at my county email.
They got
Well, like Chelsea was on vacation a couple months ago and got calls about elections while she was in Mexico. You know, but she doesn't take a reimbursement either because she would have her cell phone anyway.
This probably stems from, I mean, I think years ago anyway, a lot of us had limited minutes on your phone, right?
Yes.
Like, I think everybody has unlimited now. I don't know a single person that doesn't. And so I understand if you were having to pay for more minutes to use it for county purposes, I'm guessing that's where the reimbursement kind of comes into play. Or data, if you need data, like I use my phone to hotspot for my laptop if I'm not
That's what I was
here.
gonna say, the hotspot.
Yeah.
Data these days.
Right, that would be the bigger issue, but I think at least for the minutes purposes, that's probably gone by the wayside. Like you said, if it's not changing the amount you would pay, whether you're using it for work or not, because you would have your unlimited minutes and whatever your data plan is.
I mean, there's been times where I've Zoomed the meetings that I've been sitting in my truck.
Right.
And so therefore I'm using my data.
Right, yeah.
But I think, personally, I think it should be lowered. I mean, back in the day, when they probably came up with this, I mean, I had a friend of mine that back when you had to be careful where you were using your phone because the charges were a lot higher.
Yeah.
I had a friend of mine ended up with a $900 phone bill one month. He about cried when he got it.
Yeah.
And he was out in Montana, and I says, John, what do you get me talked to? Because I'm trying to cut him off because mine's expensive enough, and I was probably in Iowa, you know.
But that's not really an issue anymore, I don't think.
No, that's not as big an
Other
issue
than the
as,
data, I think would be the big thing if you don't, I mean, most people I think have unlimited at this point, but some.
The only difference now is international.
Yeah, and that doesn't happen very often. I wouldn't think, but.
No, I wouldn't think so. But.
And even when I was international and used my phone for work, I didn't charge the county for the extra time that
I put my international plan on my personal phone and used that when I've been international to answer calls. So that shouldn't really.
So do we think that a change needs to be made?
I think so. I think it should be lowered and it should be standard. As far as everybody should get the same.
I agree. Yeah. Whatever you guys think.
I'm an elected official, so me, I mean, it's a little bit different as far as I don't care. But regular employee using their phone some for, I mean, I could see a reimbursement for
Right.
that. But I don't think it needs to be enough to be their whole line and their data. Because I think for like $50 a month, you can get a phone and some data with it. I don't know about unlimited, but you can get a fair amount of data with it for $50. And we've got some that are well over that, and they're gonna use that data themselves at least 50% of the time. 8 hours a day you're working, the other 8 hours of the day, in theory, you're on your own. And in theory, the other 8 hours you should be sleeping unless you're a night owl. So I would think that,
So if we think we're going to discuss changing this policy, we just need to put it on,
It's on the agenda, number 17.
with possible action. Okay.
I would rather have input from the people out in the courthouse and wherever else that are getting reimbursed, so they have the ability to debate it.
justify why we have to pay for their whole phone.
Well, I think the people that were interested are here. I mean, Eric showed up, and everybody else has a.
They knew it was
They
on the
knew that it was
agenda.
on the agenda. So if they had a problem.
So is anybody else on the line? Robert or Scott or Ethan or Sue?
Well, maybe we should table it for a week for those people to have an opportunity to bring their justification for it, or reasons that they think
I'm
that
fine
they.
with that. Then Terry will be back too.
And,
I mean, he's here, but. What do you think, Terry?
I would rather wait a week. Now, did Bill have a proposal?
well, not necessarily. I just think that we were by far the highest county on the reimbursement for phones of the 6 that were there at the meeting. And my thought is that we need to lower it considerably, because if you're using your phone, I'll even give them a 50-50. So we should really only be paying for half of their plan. And if a plan could cost $50, we should only be paying $25 or $30 of a phone instead of $75.
I think that makes a lot of sense.
What if you just change it from 75 to 50?
50?
50 still covers the phone. 75, you actually might be getting ahead of the game.
Well, I was just pulling up the Verizon bill here, and like if the county was gonna buy somebody a phone, it would be about $50.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's probably, I would say that's, from one perspective, that would be the tipping point.
I can't think of what's mine a month, do you know?
It's about 50.
Okay.
I mean, the line shows like $40, $45, but then there's taxes and fees that are on there, so it's.
But you're still
There
using
shouldn't
the
be
phone.
taxes on a county cell phone.
We pay taxes every month to the feds for telecommunication, yada yada, 911, et cetera.
Taxes on those.
It's not sales tax, it's
Okay.
federal, whatever, phone tax.
Communication.
Universal service charge, regulatory charge, Iowa DRPS surcharge, Iowa State 911 fee, government.
Okay.
I would make the proposal that we table it till next week and then look at it a little bit closer and have with possible action next week.
Okay.
What do you think, Bill?
I can see going down a little bit to like 50 or something. That would encourage people to get a lesser phone plan.
Well, and if most people only want to carry one phone, and actually, the county is a half decent place to work, and the least they can do is pay for half of their own phone. It's You know, my thought is at most 30.
Because they're not gonna get rid of it, because they can't afford it, because we drop it down to 30.
I don't think too many people are gonna choose the option to carry 2 phones.
And if they,
And if they do, it might be because they're being a little spiteful. It's not because they really want to, I wouldn't think.
I was just gonna
I-
say.
and
I'd
I'm not- I'm
probably-
just saying-
I would probably switch and get a county phone if it dropped to that. Because I use mine a lot for work. I use mine more for work than for personal. You know, and I'm probably the odd man
Yeah,
out.
but you still would have it if you had this job or not, and if you had a different
Well,
job
sure.
where you work at some private sector company, you would probably, I mean, I used my phone when I was I first got a smartphone when I was a salesman for Ag Performance. I had to get one for emails and stuff like that, and I used that phone, for way more for work than I did personally.
Sure.
And he didn't give me near the whole bill for the phone. I mean, he did give me something off the phone, but it was only like $20 for the plan. The plans were more expensive back then.
Sure.
Back in 2012. So,
Right.
but,
That's just my opinion, my take on it. My phone number is right there on my board. People call me on it constantly.
Okay, so, again, I think we should table it till next week and we'll have some discussions with some of the people involved. If they wanna be here next week, then they can discuss it too, and Eric, your comments are noted. And do we need to do anything to put it on the agenda for next?
nope, I've got it on there.
Okay. Can we move on?
Yep.
Okay. Sure. Consider for approval payroll claims. What is this DNR stuff that I'm supposed to be signing?
You're not supposed to sign
no,
that.
those are
That's
just-
just for your information for you to look at, and then
Those are
it
just
comes
your-
back to me.
Okay, it comes back to you though?
Yep.
it's just your poop permits. You get to look at them and say, oh boy.
Okay, no signature there.
Did you sign the,
I did.
So you guys don't need anything from me on that policy, we're just changing to plural for the
Yep.
insurance.
Taking out the A
Yeah, I
and
think
putting
that's,
on.
that's pretty straightforward.
I think so, yeah, I don't see any problem with
Yep.
that, so. Alrighty, have a good day.
Yep, you too, thank you.
Yep.
Can I sit on these, sir?
Yep, you can go right ahead.
Carla, do these need to be on?
just sign your name.
Well, as much as I'd like to be there with you guys right now, I think I need to drop off.
Okay, we're really glad you're not.
Well, you know,
Okay.
without your support, I don't know if we can get through this.
Thanks, Terry.
All right, we'll talk to you later.
Feel better. It's miserable to have the flu.
Yes.
This beaver tail one here. That's would be a claim, wouldn't it? Are we doing claims?
We're not doing claims, I'm just having you sign it
Okay, you just,
to approve it.
have we approved it already? I remember talking about the beaver tails at the last meeting.
I don't know, but you have to sign all the drainage claims, so either way,
Me or?
her.
Yeah, okay.
This doesn't say vice chair behind it. That's all right.
This one?
I think so. Is it
Down here a little
wrong?
further.
Sorry.
Gotta have it flat or this thing.
So you're not gonna be there?
No, I won't.
Stomach's growling.
What's that?
My stomach's growling.
Must be dinner time, huh? My daughter's wondering where I'm at. She must be at Sally's.
Tried to go to Sally's on Saturday, but she was closed.
Yeah, she's not open Saturdays. And then she's only open till like 2 or 3 in the afternoon too.
Yeah. She used to be open on Saturdays, but
Did she? Never here on Saturdays usually.
yeah.
Spiteful might have been a little strong, unreasonable might have been.
What's that?
When I said someone who would want to get a county phone for that reason, spiteful might have been a little strong, maybe it should have been unreasonable.
You rethinking what you said?
No, I still fully 100% agree with what I said. Well, it's at least 50-50.
Like I said, I don't use my cell phone, or I don't let the county reimburse me because I would have that phone whether the county paid for it or not.
Exactly.
And I think it's ridiculous. It's a salary boost for the people who claim it. That's really all it is at this point. And like she said, back in the day when you had limited minutes and data plans that costed a bunch, you know, there was a reason for it, but I don't think there is anymore.
So do we ever reimburse anybody the whole 75?
Yes.
Why?
Because their bill's that high.
Why?
Good question.
Maybe
But there are people who get that.
I almost felt embarrassed at the meeting.
Well, there are things like that we probably should be, you know, taking a look at what we do compared to other counties around us.
Well, there are some things that we do more of that I think we're right in doing that more than they're wrong. I think they're more wrong for not doing it. But
thank you.
I don't think I kept them in really great order because I
no,
took some of.
there's no order.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there is. You guys
There
just
was.
don't ever keep it before
Messed
you.
it up. Sorry.
Is that right? There
I
is
think we
actually an
messed
order
it
to
up.
that?
Yeah, there is.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, I'll make a bigger effort to try and keep it in
I
shape.
took your stack though halfway through, so Okay, so where are we at, guys?
I'll make a motion to approve the payroll claims.
And I will second that. And we need to have a vote on that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And Terry's not on the line.
That's
And
it's
all
just you and me.
All opposed is none. That is approved, the claims. And we, number 19, we did the FEMA meeting, but we also have an additional one on 20 with the amend.
Yeah.
The amend, revising a transfer.
Yes, that was,
Reversing a transfer.
that thing that little, this.
Yep.
That
And that
was
was
it?
that then?
Yep.
Oh,
Okay.
okay, all right.
So that is
So
done.
I need a motion for that.
I'll make a motion to reverse the transfer.
And I will second that, and all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And I said aye. And so that is passed as well. Can we leave?
All you gotta do is we say, we stand adjourned.
We stand adjourned. Well, that was interesting, guys.